long off the actual low that gets made. We're always chasing that move with the playmaker trade. Let's see how it goes today. We got the Bash Brothers locked and loaded. Good one this morning. Let's kick it on over to learn to trade. And whatever the lesson is today.
Yeah.
Yes. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade During the Midday. That is your boy, Joey Options, and we are not wearing the same thing today.
No, sir.
Let's wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream. All right, we're gonna try to shout out some new people today. Shout out to Sarah Bradette. I see you. One Micro Trader, as well as Benson, the Huts, Kahlua. That's usually the weekend, though. No, true? Cesar Sandoval, he's an OG. Let's keep going. I'm gonna have to skip some names, guys. We want to see some new people. We got Jimmy J. The Sankofa, yeah, I've seen you before. Shout out to T-Money as well. Stock Up Whiskey 26, that's a new one. Stewart's a new one for me as well. Ryan Felipe and Mad Parks update. We got Smokey Love. Yes, this is what I want to see. Damien. We got Trixie Hobbitary. Okay. EVO Hugs. We got Epic Strategy and Carlo Verdinho. Red Candle Magnet. Tell me if you're long or short, please.
Oh, Red Candle Magnet.
Simmers down. These are good, Joseph. Batags. We got CD Roofing. And who else we got over here? Damien Tarsa. Twitch Fanzu, and we got Mary L. We got Buy the Drip. Yeah, I've seen that one before, but I like it. We got Jose, Ravi Fernandez, and B Trader. Shout out to Ande Brooks, as well as Jarhead Trader, my bad. Zaylin, GM Lord. We got Mentally Unemployable. Good luck to you, my man. Dev H and Mikdad Muhammad. We got Tisha, actually it's Tisha. We got Jerome Hutt. Who else? Tobbs B. Who else we got over here? Come on. Parth Gandhi and Water Lover?
Water Lover.
I'm a water lover.
I'm a big water guy.
I can get behind that.
Hydration.
Shout out to Trader TV, baby. Yeah. Branded bottles. Good morning, Joseph. How it goes, my man?
Good, really good. I mean, a little bit of a mixed bag this morning. No questioning that. One thing that is slightly disappointing for me, anyways, unless you're a bear, maybe, is TSM. A little bit of chop and churn there on that front, but you got something in the opening drive, and not some bad numbers. I mean, from a year-over-year perspective, putting up some fantastic numbers is TSM, but we got a lesson today, and I know you're going to want to touch on something before we dive into it.
Absolutely. There's not too many, sadly, small cap gappers that are really doing all that well. Let's just be honest about it. The highest percentage winner right now since the bell rung is DATS. It's up a light 54 1/3%. I happen to like that one. That's the top left corner over here. Kind of looks bull flaggish. Not really respecting the volume weighted average price, so I'm hesitant to want to base anything off it, but I do see higher low wicks and a bit of a compression pattern with lower highs, but it is it looks sound. There's also TMC. This one, the chart pattern is not bad. This one was running yesterday as well. But the only concern with this bad boy is the volume. It be light, baby. The chart pattern, as I mentioned, looks good, but it's got to have a decent amount of volume to really be able to have a tighter spread so we can get in and get out without trouble. ARCAT, though, is going to be on focus. I don't usually short these small cap gappers, but this one is a bit of a unique situation with the short report coming out midday. Shout out to Neil for calling that out. I'm going to keep my eye out on ARCAT. I've got Holo, GTech, and ARQQ, but I got to tell you, I'm not really, I don't have too much in the way of ambition that today's a good day for small cap gappers. We'll trade what we can, but if we got to look at the Meg, we got to look at the Meg. What's the lesson today about?
Because Sharif, we're heading into some into earnings season. So I mean, we got to talk some options with earnings. So that's straddles and strangles and how to take advantage of some of these these earnings reports, guys. All right, so let's get right into it here. Sorry, just managing some stuff, and then sure enough, we will dive right in. So here we go, folks. Let's get the party started. For those, we've gone over this before, but again, it was kind of out of season when we did it, but now we're in season, just in the early stages of earnings. Sorry, guys. And yeah, so let's look what we can do and take advantage of that, because we know how options work. We can't open or close positions after the market or before the market. So we need to learn how to take advantage before the market, so we can do that with some straddles and strangles. And this is what we're going to be going over: the expected move, open interest, and of course implied volatility, because we're going to be paying for that with these contracts that you may be purchasing. All right, folks? So let's get right into it. So straddles can be classified as an intermediate level option strategy, best utilized when large increases in implied volatility are expected, including large expected moves. So those kind of go hand in hand there. So what we're looking at here is earnings announcements. We are rolling into earnings season, so this is why I wanted to bring this forward and just give you guys a reminder, all right? So consists of 2 options contracts with the same strike and expiration date. So stock XYZ is trading at $50. What we do here is we buy 1 at the money call and we buy 1 at the money put. That's as simple as it is, okay? That is a straddle, okay? So essentially what you're doing is you're just buying 2 contracts at the money, and what the objective of this is you need one to drastically outweigh the other in order to become profitable here, all right? So sorry guys, just let me manage this.
Yeah, I can.
No, that's all right. I'm good. Oh, I did not want to do that. Damn. Okay. Anyways, yeah, it's okay. Trade. So okay, here we are. Same thing again, guys. Trade is most profitable when a significant move is made in either direction or a large increase in implied volatility. All right. So max potential loss is the total debit paid for both contracts. So really risk adverse. That's something that's really, really positive about these, is that the amount that you pay for these contracts is the amount that you can lose. Do you necessarily want to lose that amount? No. So you can set a stop loss. But again, you're trying to play the earnings announcements, so that won't get triggered in the post-market or in the pre-market, okay? And we'll go over a little trick on how, if you play this strategy, you can lock in some of those gains, okay? So we'll touch on that in a second. But yeah, guys, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll go and we'll look on the options chain and see what Adara's up to.
It's actually a pink sheet or over-the-counter stock, but it's worth noting here, Bill Ackman actually just released, apparently here, a full 104-slide presentation with a 1-hour-plus recording talking about Fanny, Mae, and Freddie Mac. We know that he's talked about this in the past, openly admitting that I guess his group, Pershing Square, they're very much down on their investment there in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. But regardless, interesting stuff here, I guess, with FNMA, and that would be Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac as well here. Keep an eye on those tickers if you're trading these over-the-counter stocks, because that is a pretty hefty presentation. Apparently, this was released about 17 hours ago, but it's now, or I guess it was initially teased 17 hours ago, came out today at 9 a.m., being circulated now on social media. Keep an eye on those tickers, guys. Back to you.
Thank you for that, Adara. Much appreciated, guys. All right, so here we are on the options chain, and this is what it would look like when you construct a straddle, okay? So here's your profit profile right here, guys. So you can see if you stay within that range, which is very tight, you're not going to be profitable on that trade. But once you exceed that kind of at the money and you move from that, you deviate from those prices, that's when you start to become profitable, okay? And make sure if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll do the best that we can to answer those. So again, here's a look at it. And one thing that I really want to point out here with the straddle is that when you execute this trade or when you open it, the goal is you need to beat the expected move, and we'll go over that shortly. But when you have 2 at-the-money contracts, what you want is one to significantly outweigh the other, all right? And then when that increase in implied volatility steps in, it'll also help mitigate the loss on the other hand. But you need one contract to significantly outweigh the other, okay, guys? So here we go. Let's get into some strangles. Is an option strategy that consists of buying out the money calls and puts in the same expiration cycle, okay? So here's an example. Stock XYZ is trading at $50. You buy a 55 call and buy a 45 put, okay? So this holds a little bit more of a bias. The strangle also requires a significant move in the stock price or IV, again, in order to become profitable in this trade. Due to the large profit potential, the strategy does have a lower probability of profit as well. Like the straddle, the max loss is the total debit paid for the long call and long put. You can create a more directional bias strangle by offsetting the deltas on the long call and put, okay? So again, what you would do is if you have your contracts and you're like, hey, I want to create a strangle, but I hold a little bit more bias to the one side, so you can just offset those contracts utilizing your delta. Okay, guys? So here we go. This is how you would construct a strangle. Here we have identical deltas on this front. And then, sorry, you don't see the profit profile here, but this is what you're looking at. The probability of profit is only around 41%. But then here you are, the max loss is the total debit paid on those contracts. So the max loss is $1,135, but you can obviously set that to something else, okay? But reminder, you cannot have that stop order executed in the pre or post market, okay? So that is the strangle, guys. So these are some examples. So this is what you want to look at, and these are prime examples of exceeding that expected move and what the ideal price action is looking like for the straddles and strangles, okay? So this is what you want to see. These are after the earnings report. You see the similarity in the time on Tesla and AMD. This was previous quarter. So here we go, and which is insane, Sharif. If you look at the price of Tesla here, $239 before the last report. Yeah, so there we go. We have on that one. And then AMD, $154.
Like
yeah, exactly. So there we go. One depreciating and one appreciating. So this is what you want. When you construct a straddle and you open that right before the report or right before the close, this is what you want to see, okay? You want to exceed that expected move. You want price action to appreciate drastically so that your long call or your long put eventually outweighs the other, okay? So here's another example on PLTR, crazy, $46 when this was taken. Prime example of exceeding that expected move and the price action that you want to see. And then here is Meta, not necessarily the case. The chances are that come the market opening the next day, you're going to take a little bit of a loss because we did not exceed those moves, okay? And the same thing with NVDA. Here's a prime example of if you were to open a straddle just before the market close and then this prints, the chances are you're going to get hit on that IV and you're going to take a little bit of a loss on that trade. But if you're lucky, IV will pay for that, and then you can get out there out of this trade scratch-free, all right? So there's an example. So let's go over the expected move. Refers to the amount a stock is anticipated to move up or down from its current price. This concept is derived from the implied volatility of the options and provides a forecast of potential price movement with a specific time frame. If a stock's weekly expected move is 10%, then the stock's price is expected to be plus or minus 10% within the next week, okay? So implied volatility, this is a measure of the market's expectation of how much the stock price will fluctuate. Higher implied volatility can indicate a greater expected move. We know that with higher implied volatility comes options premiums. So you will increase options premiums. So you will be paying for that implied volatility, okay? So here's an example of what we would look at for expected moves rolling into earnings. I put PanW for my guy up here because we had I was looking at the earnings last time, and then we had NVDA as well too. So you can see the implied volatility and the expected moves on that front, okay, guys? So you can use these tools. You can also calculate your own expected move. It's the at-the-money straddle minus the two premiums times 0.18 or something along those lines. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on the formula, but again, fact check me, chat, if I am wrong, but it's the at-the-money straddle, subtract those two contracts, the two premiums, and then times 0.18, something along those lines. And here we go. Open interest. So in options trading refers to the total number of outstanding contracts that have been settled. It provides an outlook of the number of active positions in a particular contract rather than just the total volume traded, all right? So it's an indicator of market activity. Open interest is often used to gauge the level of activity and liquidity in the options market. Higher open interest indicates more active trading and greater liquidity, okay? So when you see those large orders of open interest in those $1.5, those are great targets as well too, all right? So money flow, increasing options interest suggests that new money is flowing into the market, while decreasing open interest indicates outflows of the market, all right? So here's an example of just some high open interest, and you can see at those $1.5 strike prices. So you can see at 165 you got 70K, and then at 60 you have 90K, and then the quarters don't really have that much, the 175 halves. Those aren't the most utilized contracts, all right? So that's why when people are trading, they like those $1.5, okay? So here's another example on the put side, and you can go to the $1.5, and then that's where you're going to see the most open interest, and you can utilize those as profit targets. All right, so let's close this up, guys. So what we want to do is locate stocks with high-level catalysts in the upcoming days to pick which option strategy you want to implement, whether it's a straddle or a strangle. Check the expected move the options market is pricing in, and then look for high levels of open interest, guys. So hopefully that helped you guys and gave you a little bit of insight on straddles and strangles and help you take advantage of earnings other than just using common stock. What do you got going on, Mack?
All right, man. Let's talk about the trades we've got on DATS. We got into this one on the break of 660. I scalped into 7, got stopped out for the last remaining out through the break of 660. I wish I gave this a bit more room because it popped back up. I tried to use that 660 area over here that we rejected off multiple times as my area out. That was not the right idea. Or if it was, I should have given it a bit more room knowing that this was a little volatile right now. So keeping my eye on that. I'm also still involved in ARCAT to the downside. A few pennies in the money. We've got some outs here in the low 90s. I'm waiting in the low 80s, but this is short sale restricted now. So in case you don't know what that is, once a stock is down 10% or up, up and down. It's short down, right, Neil? Is it both? It has to be down. Sorry, down. So down 10%, it no longer becomes allowable to short on a downtick. You got to short on an uptick. The whole point of that is to prevent the bleeding, so to speak. So once that 10% level gets triggered, it gets a little bit harder to obviously short because you got to wait for upticks. And as a result, the down moves become a bit more subdued. So that's what I'm involved in right now, looking for that print at 80s. We've just taken very small outs, still holding the majority of the position, waiting for this bad boy to, choose what it wants to do. It's putting in lower highs with respect to that 1030 pop, and then we got a 1020 pop, then we got a 1005 pop. So I'm anticipating the lower highs to mean we also get a break through that 980-ish area. So keeping my eye on that. I'm going to keep my eye on the Mag as well. The Mag just got a bit of a down move over here as the Fuge had recovered above 21,450, but down we go again, and now we are testing 21,400 yet again. That is the closing print on the NQ March contract. So this is the break-even point right now that we're currently at, 21.4. It's still lower highs. I mean, you don't need to be a chartered market technician to see that area crest at 3 a.m. this morning. That's as high as we would get on the future at 21,567. And then each successive crest is lower than its predecessor with also lower lows as well. So a bit of a downward channel right now on the market. And I'm going to keep my eye on that for any possible shorts on the Mag. With respect to the small cap gappers, I got to tell you, there's not a whole lot going on here. We had a good trade on DATS. FSI is starting to look like it might be a little bit better of a looker than DATS, but I'm not going to base anything off VWAP. Like this one makes it awfully hard. I'm talking about FSI right now to trade my setup. My setup requires 3 basic rules. That it has a definable pre-market high, which this one doesn't. That it be trading above the definable pre-market high subsequent to the bell, which this one obviously can't. And it has to be above VWAP. This one has spent basically 50% of the time above VWAP and 50% of the time below. So why am I looking at it then? Well, number one, it's up 50% more, and it's got a symphony of higher lows with a flat top. Flat top being at 6 with higher lows. So this one becomes a candidate for an ascending wedge and a flat top break through that $6. It's about setting up the right way. So how do we set up the right way? What's the move here? Well, as I perceive it, it looks like it's got the higher low situation, basically at the 20 exponential moving average on the 5. It's not a strict look in that regard. Like, I mean, over here, we don't touch the 20, nor do we over here. Here we get awfully close. Here we double wick off the 20 and then move above that 575 area where we had topped out. So my estimation is the money fills on FSI are going to be near the low end of this range. Now, if you want to base it on the 20, have at it. If you want to draw an incline trend line over here and try to base it off that trend line, have at it as well. So I'm going to keep my eye on this one. In fact, I kind of like it right now. So I'm going to weasel on over to FSI. It doesn't trade on the NASDAQ, so let's try New York. No, New York either, so Amex it is. Did it pop up? No, we can weasel in here. I can certainly work my way with a DCA into that $5 area. I don't have to have bottom wick. So right now we're long FSI at 537. I absolutely will be interested in adding to this one in and around the let's say 515 area. So I'll layer my orders because I may not get the entire fill at 515, and then we'll put a couple of orders, one at 520, one at 515, and then I gotta tell you, anything below this low area over here at 490, we're gonzino, so we're gonna take small size on this one. I think today warrants small size on these small cap gappers because you're not getting that continuity, that strength to say, hey, let me get in aggressively. There's a good chance that this curls up. I don't know if that today is the day for it. So weaseled into FSI over here, come what may. Back to ARCAT over here as it dances right at my entry. I am concerned a little bit about ARCAT. So let me make the case here. We got lower highs with that 1030 pop and then basically 10 being the midpoint, but we also have that 970, 960 dip and pop. So right now what we have is a compression pattern with lower highs and higher lows. But what's the trend that preceded the compression pattern is a downtrend. So this looks awfully like a bull pennant. If it's a bull pennant, then the textbook says it typically resolves in the direction of the trend, which is to the downside. Whether that happens or not, an entirely different story. And whether you're able to stay in the trade while it does that whole thing, that's a different story as well. So I'm going to keep my eye out on ARCAT, obviously involved in it, but fully aware of the higher lows and the short sale restriction that could prevent this one from continuing to bleed to the downside. In case you're wondering what's going on with ARCAT, it has a short seller report from our very good friends, and I'm kidding, of course, at Caresdale Capital, basically saying, Capital, let me just load it up over here, get a bit of more details. Watching Red Cat Holdings, Caresdale Capital short on shares of the company issues report titled Red Cat Holdings Flying Blind. I need a little bit more than that, man. Let's see if there's more details. Here we go. Red Cat fell, blah, 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 disclosed it's short, didn't immediately respond to Seeking Alpha's email request for comment. So they don't really have details on it. So I'll have to go to the website if I can, if I have time, and then we can basically see whether the report is kosher or not. Obviously, I won't be able to read on the show. So that's a look right now. FSI and ARCAT. One long, one short, Joseph.
Hey, good looks, my friend. Yeah, if we could pull up my chart here real quick and see what we got going on. So yeah, this is what we got cooking up for IBIT here, guys, so far. Nice recovery off the bottom. For all my cam traders, I told you guys this before, I just check the cams every morning to see what's going on. And we were sitting on top of R4, S4, sorry, so that was looking for a bounce. We did break through that and then bounced off another cam pivot that I'm not aware of, but I'm sure that we did at that point. So here we go, added to this position as well too. We did take a little bit of a loss on TSMC, but here we are, punched into here and just start parceling out, add on this pullback, and let's see if we can continue to the top side. But let's take a look at spot before we actually take a gander at TSM and see what we got going on. Guys, we drew this yesterday, okay? We drew this trend line yesterday, and sure enough, look what happens here. We bounced right off it, and we bounced off it aggressively, okay? So I think that we're gonna need to see some momentum step into Bitcoin in order for us to break through this, or we just chop around in this and then either pick a direction once price has compressed too much, and then sure enough, everything is bottled up, and then we need to break out and find a specific direction in this underlying asset. But here we are, bouncing off key resistance levels in Bitcoin, and now slowly starting to recover. The overall market is weak. We have Apple selling off aggressively, and as well as NVDA too. So here's Apple, guys, on the 5-minute, and what a micro pullback on this one. Just pure momentum, the purest of pure momentum headed to the downside on Apple, almost waterfall-esque. And here we are continuing to make new lows, sitting around $230 on AAPL. Let's zoom out a little bit and see what we got going on from a daily standpoint. So guys, you know that I was telling Sharif about a little swing that I had, and it's looking like a good play on my behalf because I exited at like 6:30 this morning, and sure enough, here we are playing that double hammer, now breaking it to the downside, which can be slightly alarming and can possibly indicate that, hey, there's going to be some more downside as we break these hammer candles on AAPL. But guys, let's see what Adara's got going up for us at the big desk.
For one, Apple's knocking the door of 230, but that is not the reason I did this throw. I want to let you guys know I actually did read some of this ARCAT short report from Carousel Capital. It is worth noting here, the reports are generally pretty long. I read like the first thesis page, and basically it seems like the core or the crux here of their case against ARCAT is basically that Red Cat Holdings, as they put it, their expectations here for a lot of these Army deals are detached from reality, specifically because their budget for what they're saying they're going to be getting from the Army contract-wise is insanely inflated to compare to what the Army actually gives in contracts. So the Army budget basically says they have about just under $25 million in 2025 to give to companies and projects like ARCAT, but ARCAT's saying they're going to be getting $80 million in 2025. So that's more than 3 times the Army's actual budget. They're basically saying that the ARCAT administration, or I guess managers there, are, quote, crafty in reframing these expectations to the point where they're actually divorced from reality and statistical information that we're aware of. Also, apparently, because Red Cat announced this Army contract before the Army allowed it to do so and without the Army's permission, they basically endangered, according to Carousel Capital, their chances of getting any other contracts. So they're saying that basically ARCAT's management is pretty unwise and unrealistic with a lot of their goals here, guys. That's the long and short of it. Back to you.
Thank you very much for that, Adara. Appreciate the update and the explanation. We'll have to keep an eye on the new, obviously, Defense Department with likely incoming candidate Pete Hegseth having gone through his confirmation hearings. Well, he hasn't been voted in quite yet, but so that'll be interesting there. Sorry, what was that, Andre?
More news with it.
Okay, we're going back to Adara.
We're back.
Sorry, guys, lots of news today. We do have now a report from Bloomberg News that the U.S. ban on TikTok is now poised to be delayed. We've had a couple headlines this morning suggesting that Donald Trump will try to delay this via an executive order. Now Bloomberg saying that regardless, it's poised to be delayed. Not much of a reaction here from Meta, which is pushing to the upside, but regardless, it is worth noting here. It looks like this potential delay in the ban is becoming increasingly likely. Back to you.
Thank you again for that, Adara.
I mean,
important stuff, bro. Important stuff.
Sunday is when the ban was going to kick in, no?
Yeah. Well, there's so much information going online about what is going on. So, actually, TikTok itself may have a problem functioning, despite the fact that they're not going to be removed off people's phones, and it's only for the phone carriers and the app stores to stop carrying their app and for it not to be updated anymore. But here's the deal. Oracle hosts most, or I think all of their North American operations. So now all of a sudden Oracle gets put into the crossfire as well. What's their position with respect to the ban? So that's number one. So then people were saying, well, why can't they move it to servers offshore? China, for example, they've got plenty of server capacity there. That was floated as an idea. Latency issues become a problem there because North American users trying to access TikTok are going to obviously have issues as those trans-ocean cables have to carry all that. So that's a problem. That's number two. Number three, obviously Donald Trump throwing a complete curveball with this executive order. Does he even have the power to override a congressional law that was actually passed by Joe Biden, signed into law? That's the other thing. And the fourth thing after that is the Supreme Court still hasn't chimed in. We kind of got a bit of a glimpse of what the justices thought vis-a-vis the questioning that they posited to the lawyers, but by no means do we have anything conclusive. So it's absolutely wild card right now. What the hell goes on?
So that's good for ByteDance, I mean, right? So the longer that it's prolonged, everything
I would say so.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. So they can think like more strategic, like, hey, what are we gonna do here? Because Sharif and I were talking yesterday as well too, just saying having the ability to tap into the American consumer is the ultimate business venture, right? That's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
You want to be able to tap into the American economy and the consumer there. So to give that all up, I don't know if it's going to be worth it. Will it? Do you think it would collapse TikTok like ByteDance? Is it popular in China? I have no idea.
No, bro. And here's the thing. There's a growing movement. Ram, let me know if you've seen this as well. So not everybody, but a lot of people on TikTok are downloading this.
What is it?
Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Ram, did you hear about Red Hat? So Ram's heard about it. So everybody's downloading Red Hat, which I find to be quite comical. It's like you're leaving one Chinese app to go to another because it's just going to get banned as well.
Exactly.
But apparently the algorithm is really good on that one as well. And a lot of people are migrating over. Funny thing is, it's entirely in Mandarin. You can't, there's not in English. So I was like, go Mandarin, right? Because I'm studying Mandarin, honestly, right? So in any event, this Red Hat thing's making a move online. We'll have to see if it's anything to keep an eye on, Joseph, or just a quick fad.
I'm really curious to know as well, too, guys. So put it in the chat if anybody is more knowledgeable than I am. How will that affect ByteDance? Will it cripple it? Because as I just mentioned, having the ability to tap into the American consumer is absolutely ideal for them. And if that dissipates, if that goes away, then what's going to happen to the company? So that's what I'm curious about. I personally don't have TikTok or very much social media, so I don't know too much about that one. But guys, let's take a look at the top performing sectors thus far. I'm getting a little defensive here as the VIX is up on the session. So utilities sitting in first place, up about 1.7% on the session, the highest of the groups. So real estate being 1.56%, and then the industrials are at 1.12%. All right. So guys, let's take a look at the bottom, and I guess we have a pretty good idea what isn't performing the best, and that's the consumer discretionary. All right. So Tesla selling off quite heavily. We're only down about 0.3% on the session, 0.3. And then the communication services, slightly green, only 0.02%. And I think that's being led by Google. I haven't taken a look at Meta just quite yet, but we will shortly. And the consumer staples in third last there, 0.05%. So utilities at the top of its class, a little bit of a sector rotation here, guys. Some money coming out of tech and into the utilities and real estate, it seems to be. So we know what Tesla, NVDA, and Apple have been up to. Let's take a quick look at Meta and see what we got up in the comms.
Sorry, guys. It's called Red Note, not Red Hat. My mistake. I misspoke.
Red Note. Okay, so did you download it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did, eh?
Yeah. I got it, baby. My phone's like doubly hacked now.
Oh, yeah. They know everything about you.
There's a hilarious TikTok video going on, and it's like this Asian guy. He's pretending to be the Chinese spy. He's like, "Hello, TikTok. Chinese spy here. I want to say goodbye. It's been nice knowing you. Jennifer in California, you eat too much, blah, blah, blah." He's like reciting, pretending to be like spying on people's, what.
I remember those memes that would be like when they would pretend the Secret Service would text your phone. It's like, bro, don't do it. Exactly. So here's Meta, guys, slowly climbing higher, still negative on the session. But as Google and Meta continue to crawl higher, I think it can drag the market up. But again, NVDA, Tesla, and Apple extremely weak. So that's where you get that push and pull effect in the market, guys. So, and I mentioned earlier, the VIX is up as well, too. So let's take a quick look at the VIX before we send it off back to my guy. And here we are, the volatility or the fear index, guys. And this is where you can see, I mentioned this time and time again, the inverse correlation between them. And sure enough, here we go from a 5-minute standpoint. Slowly climbing higher. Again, market moves up, VIX comes down, market moves down, VIX goes up, guys. So about neutral here on the fear index.
I love it. You guys are making me chuckle in the chat. All right, guys, we've got a couple of positions on right now. Let's talk about it. So we're first and foremost, FSI, we're long at 29s. I've had one beak wetter here. This is going to have to hold up above that 490 area trough. Otherwise, I'm gone. It looks like it's defending 5, caught in a bit of a range. I was seeing higher lows. That pattern has now kind of been put into question with this area trough breaking 511. So we'll see what this one does. Built up a position in it. Let's see how this one does. PHIO, involved in this one as well at 55s. Multiple outs already on this. I had the move up into about $4 we took there. Then it came into that 3.5 where VWAP is, where I perceive to be that area initial resistance that we rejected off. So I put a dip trade at 350, and let's see if we can move back up above 370. We're dancing right now in the 3 mid-60s. Okay, 70 showing up right now on the ask. I'm waiting at 74s. Let's see if we can get a bit of a pop on this one. Up 38.25. It's a good look, but it's not as strong as we've seen it on previous days. That is just kind of the fact of the matter. There we go. We got the fill at 75. So we're keeping an eye on this one. My next out on this one is 82. And then above that, it's going to be 4. So PHIO, 40%, and it's a trade de novo, and I like to use Latin during the midday because it makes me feel special, but that all it means is that it's a new trade. This one didn't really start trading, whether after the bell at 9:30 or in the pre-market, which is when a lot of these small cap gappers start moving, okay? So this one really started getting the volume under it right at the beginning of the show, right at 11 o'clock. So keeping an eye on this one. There we go. Moving. Okay, so we got that fill at 75, but we're still fill-less at 82. Let's see if that one wants to move back up. 80s now on the ask. Okay, good. Let's see if we can pop up a little bit above 80s. The spread on this one is not too bad. I've seen it as wide as 3, as tight as 1. Here we go, 80s again. There it is. Okay, good, good, good. So we got the fill at 82. Now I'm going to wait north of 4, and then I'm waiting at 4.25. So we want to take a little bit more over here. I'm happy with that 3.5 defend. It was a sound ad. Let's see if it's going to be a sound trade or it's going to go against me. Now let's go look at ARCAT, because I've been kind of dilly-dallying over here on ARCAT, and it's been hanging out at 10, a little bit above 10, a little bit below 10. We're 9 pennies out of the money. We've got a couple of fills under our belt. I talked about the compression pattern on this one with lower highs but higher lows, and the fact that it looks like a bear pennant. All that is great to talk about from a textbook perspective. It's not executing that way right now, IRL. So I've moved down my stop from that 10.30 into 10.25. I don't want to give back too much on this monster because it can just be quite volatile. Anyway, it's short sale restricted. It seems to be defending 10 for whatever reason. So we'll keep an eye on that. Look, it's still rejecting the 10 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart, but it's got higher lows. So I am concerned about this one. I definitely need to keep an eye out on it. FSI. FSI is now still hanging out near that 510 area. Yeah, and this one is just looking more inclined like it wants to break down than really start, maintaining that higher low situation. So I'm unsure how to play this one. I got to tell you the truth. Based on my entry, we're 529. It's printing 516s right now. We had the fill at 540s there, but I don't know. I'm going to let this one cook. I've got my stop in place. Let's see what happens with this one. Let's go back now to PHIO. PHIO, we get the fill at 82, but that's it. No continuity and no break of the previous high. The previous high was around that 395. So zig and zag right now. These small cap gappers lacking continuity, it looks like, for the moment. Okay, this is another one that we had, G-Tech. Earlier on, that was up a lot more than it is right now. It just broke down aggressively off that 232 VWAP area all the way down into 202. So this one lacking volume as a characteristic of it, and now breaking down below VWAP. This one probably doesn't have much time left on the side charts over here before it gets replaced by something else. Last one here before we send it to your boy Joey Options, TMC. Again, I complained about the volume on some of these, but the chart pattern on this one looks good. You have that 145 area top, price action area top, and then you have VWAP at 144. Lo and behold, it retraces from 153, finds a spot to bounce off at 144 vis-a-vis the volume weighted average price. So we'll keep tabs on these monsters right now. Volatile bunch. Keep in mind, guys, these ones are around for a good time, but not a long time. So that's the situation. Joseph.
Hey, thank you for that one, guys. Here we go. If we can pull up my chart here real quick. Continuing just to hold some. We don't have too much, not even 10% or so of what we started with, but we added a little bit here, starting to pull back in. I mean, the market is extremely weak. We'll take a look at Tesla in the chat. Vin asked me to. But one thing I want to point out here, I was talking to my good buddy Greg here, And I'm like, here, let's see how this NVDA 5-minute candle is about to print. It was forming a hammer, but then sure enough, that selling pressure stepped right in. And then as with that continuing to the downside with immense pressure and momentum there, guys, let's zoom out and see what we got going on. So yeah, almost giving up the majority of yesterday's gains, going back, heading back in to that opening price. But here we are on NVDA, just chopping around in this range. Probably waiting for that earnings report there, guys. We're going to send it off to Dara real quick, but when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about Tesla, and then I'm going to ask you guys some questions.
I like it.
We're going to take a look here at earnings because now we can have our earnings segment at 11:40 a.m. back now that earnings season is back. Before you digest this, make sure that you vote in the poll for what ticker you want to see discussed on the rundown. Don't worry, you'll get an opportunity to vote for 4 new tickers heading back here at 1 p.m. Sorry about that. Apple, Tesla, AMD, TSM. Pick one, and then get to choose from another set of 4 in about, I guess, an hour and a half. But right now, we're going to talk about TSM earnings. Other than this extremely high CapEx, which was, or I guess that CapEx guidance for fiscal 2025, really strong report. Revenue here, $25.0 billion to $25 billion they're expecting here for Q1. That is well above the estimates here, or not well, the higher end here is well above estimates. They did also beat for EPS and for revenue for Q4 2024. But this CapEx is actually pushed up, like sympathy plays like Applied Materials, much higher than what we're seeing with Taiwan Semi. Applied Materials actually at day's high. So TSM may be a better sympathy play for these other chip manufacturers than it is for itself. Fun fact too, Morris Chang, the founder of the company, actually at one point approached Jensen Huang to be its CEO. So TSM, interesting look here, and just a little fun fact about that one. We also have, though, UNH, which is having a much worse time here than TSM. Basically pushing to the lows after rejecting 540 off the open. They did beat on EPS, but they missed on sales. Both metrics, though, and all of their, I guess, sub-companies and segments actually did experience year-over-year growth. So that is of note. Though they did miss the revenue, it's still up on a year-over-year basis. They reaffirmed their guidance for sales and for EPS for fiscal 2025. The sales guidance was above estimates, but the midpoint of their EPS guidance missed estimates. It'll be a bit of a light day for earnings tonight. Just JB Hunt here. You can check that out with Sean and I and our special guest, Chris Brecher, on the market recap at 4 p.m. Back to the Bash Brothers.
Hey, it's in English.
Yeah,
okay,
comedy
so we go.
skits. Remember that improv show that used to be on TV? I forget what it was called back in the day. Yeah. Whose line is it anyways? There we go. Yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, guys, here we are. We're going to take a look at Tesla, starting to give back the majority of yesterday's gains as well, too. So forming a lower high off that peak. I wouldn't call it alarming or anything along those lines. So we'll continue to look at this and monitor Tesla. Let's zoom in and see what we got going on from an intraday perspective. And sure enough, here we go, breaking key support levels around 412.60, and then now continuing to the downside. I mean, at yesterday's high, we were sitting around 430, and the all-time highs are around 490, we'll call it even. And I'm like, it's only going to take a couple of sessions for this thing to start breaching the all-time highs here. But with the overall market and some of these heavy tech names starting to sell and continuing to sell, that might be a little bit of a headwind here for Tesla. But guys, what I wanted to ask you guys in the chat, because I know we got a lot of people watching here, 4,500, and we haven't really gone over this or asked anybody. But what I want to know is, do you implement options into your trading? It's just going to be a yes or no question. So it's either yes, you implement options into your trading, or no, okay? And then we'll touch on to that. So guys, just chime in. Let me know if you guys trade options or if you do not, okay? And that's just a yes or no question, and put it in the chat because I want to see what the overall sentiment in the chat is. I know a lot of people do trade them, so I'm curious to see from a percentage metric if we do or we do not, all right? So we're getting a little bit of a mixed bag here, guys. Continue to put them in, funnel those answers into the chat, and here we go. Yeah, so it is really a mixed bag here, Sharif, if you see. Yeah, we're getting responses, but a lot to the no side. And I'm curious, is like, okay, when I first started, I didn't even know anything about options, okay? And then I had people within my community just starting to trade them, and they're like, they're really curious about this leverage derivative and what's going on with this thing and how you can implement it from a day trading standpoint. And I'm also curious on you guys, is it that you don't know about or you don't want to trade them, or you've had bad past experiences trading options, okay? So, I mean, it's good to expand your general knowledge. Whether you use them or implement them from your day-to-day practice or not, it's totally up to you. But to expand that, I think is really important. And Obi and I were talking the other day as well, too, Sharif, and I'm like, I don't know too much about futures, and that's where I lack knowledge. So it is my goal to get a more thorough understanding of the futures market.
My understanding from one of the traders who used to be here, exclusively traded futures. There was a couple. There was an individual by the name of Arun, which a lot of the chat will know. And there was Steph. I'm sure. Were you here when Steph was here?
No, I never.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
So she traded the ES exclusively as well. And my understanding is the futures mostly, obviously traders use it, but it's mostly used by bigger money looking to hedge positions. So if you were to take a large position in a Mag 7, for example, you might want to get short the fuge just to offset as a hedge. That's my understanding for the majority of futures. And then futures in commodities as well, super interesting because it's like people also use it to hedge. Case in point, airlines. They've got to buy and secure their fuel 6 months, 12 months in advance. So what they're looking to do is they're looking to get certainty for their balance sheets, and they look to the futures market in order to be able to get that certainty for their hedge.
It's also it's a tool to also like measure gold and everything along those lines as well too, right? So yeah, so that is one of my goals. Guys, thanks for participating in that simple question. Yeah, we really like the participation in the chat, and we just want to keep you guys engaged as well too. And honestly, like I just mentioned, I don't know too much about futures. I knew when I first started, you have to start somewhere. I knew nothing about options, and I thought this was too complicated of a vehicle to understand. But the more you practice and the more you just be around those situations, you'll get a better understanding. So yeah.
Darth Buddha, kind of same point was trying to get there. Farmers hedge their crops using futures. Yeah, absolutely. That's my understanding as well. So. You guys are spot on today in the chat. All right, guys, we're having a day right now with PHIO. I've got one more out. We're long 355. I'm waiting at 425. It's knocked on the door of 420. Come on now. Multiple times. All times they've been closed on, bang! There we take up that $250, Joseph. There we go. So good look right now on your boy PHIO. I'm really pleased with this one, not because it's a big money maker, but because I executed right technically. I like that 3.5 for an area hold because it rejected off there. That was a top end of the initial bull flag. And then, obviously we got in initially at 370 and then the ad at 350. Pleased me very much. So we'll keep an eye out on this one. But it looks like we are not doing as well nearly on your boy ARCAT over here. The higher lows situation are now much more pronounced than your lower highs. So I think, personally, I'm about to be on the receiving end of a 30-penny loser for the remaining amount. Thankfully, I was able to de-risk in the low 90s, high 80s there. So we're able to get some out, but the remaining amount is going to be a bit of a loser if we break that 1030 area. So yeah, you win some, you lose some, and it looks like I'll be losing some on this one over here. This is the one that's kind of done bupkis. FSI. So it had a very discernible uptrend initially with the higher lows and the flat top into 6. I said to myself, this looks awfully close to an ascending wedge, getting towards the bottom end of the range. And that's exactly what I did. But all of a sudden, when I did that, the trend stopped. And by trend, I mean that higher low trend. It's all over. Now we're kind of sideways consolidating above that $5 area. So we'll keep an eye out on this one. I mean, whatever happens, happens. We get triggered out. That's the nature of the beast. So keeping my eye out on that. It looks like I will get triggered out of ARCAT over here. As I see it's coming into 28s. If it prints anything above 30, which it looks like it will, then I will get stopped out. Now here's the deal. The volume weighted average price at 37. So should I be moving up my stop? Rather than looking for the price action area resistance over here, should I be moving it up to the volume weighted average price? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let it trigger. So it's going to trigger here. I'm out. I'm going to take a bit of a loser. But I'm going to watch to see what VWAP does here. If VWAP rejects and it looks like it's going to make its way back down, well, then I have a better opportunity to weasel into this one at a better price. So I'm going to keep my eye out on this one. Oh, in fact, we went long and I just got some out there. That's funny. So I'm going to keep my eye out on this one. If it wants to turn back off VWAP, then I'll take it short. Otherwise, we're going to have to deal with the L that we just took on this one right now on ARCAT. So a bit of a tougher look here for ARCAT. And it is kind of rejecting VWAP now that I'm watching it. What is the deal here? T-Money double bottom at the previous lows on Apple. Oh, brother, I'm not even looking at the mag today. Not yet. Let these small cap gappers fizzle out, and then if I have to, I'll look at the mag. Mihail Momo, ABAT, volume is weak, but this thing is just creeping up all morning to that high. Let's have a look at ABAT. Weasel on over to this. There we go. ABAT. My mistake. All right, what do we got? Oh, that's a good look. Why are so many small cap gappers of this same kind of look? I mean, I'm gonna bring in.
Yeah, bring it in. Let's see a couple.
Look at this.
We could break that.
Here's the thing, though. Look at these guys. I mean, why are so many of them? Look, FSI, DATS, and ABAT. All very similar patterns, kind of bull flaggish, but very wicky. So interesting look on these small cap gappers today. They all have very similar looks. Yeah, I'm going to put ABAT on, obviously. We're going to take off G-Tech because that's broken down below VWAP. So, yeah, thank you for calling that out. I like it, obviously. Here, this one looks like it's quite respectful of VWAP. So that 213 area, but now as I see it, we're not putting in higher wicks anymore. We're putting lower wicks. So this could be rounding top and then a breakthrough VWAP. Volume, as you said, though, really dwindling there. The 930 spike had about 350,000 shares, and now we're fighting here to print anything above 50,000 per 5-minute candle. That is weak. So I do agree with you on that one. Let me know if you end up executing on it and what your entry is. I'm going to keep an eye on it. If it wants to change trend, then I could definitely be persuaded to get into this one, Joseph.
Hey, good luck there, guys. I was just reading through some of the comments as well, too, in the chat, and a lot of people are saying too complicated. I want to get a thorough understanding of equities first. And you know what? You guys are not wrong. Are they complicated? Yes, they can be. Trading was complicated when we first get into it, too. It may seem like hieroglyphics or whatever, but again, the more you are around something and the more you just attempt to try and just continue to read and continue to push, you will get an understanding. But yes, you're not wrong. Get an understanding of common stock and how the market moves, and then you can use options as an additional tool as well too, guys. So thanks for chiming in on that. Much appreciated. And there's something else that I was thinking of, I wanted to talk about, but that's all right. It slipped my mind, and I'm sure it'll resurface here shortly. But here we are, guys, here in some IBIT. Continuing to hover, nice appreciation throughout the session, but now we've double topped, all right? So that can be slightly alarming. Look to take some out if we break that pivot level low around 56.38. So that will be really important. If it breaks, then we're gonna have to reassess the situation and then maybe find something else. But as of right now, this is the entry. Those are the partials, and then we do a little addition here, and now just hovering around these levels with the overall market being really, really weak here, guys. NVDA continuing to move to the south side, which isn't going to be good. But here, one thing I do like, guys, now that I look at it from a 5-minute time frame, is let's see how these hammer candles at the low look. I mentioned this time and time again. These are the signals that we want to look for, and we had some pretty good trades over the past couple of weeks off of these specific signals. If we break 134.09, then thesis is invalid, and then you have to reassess the situation and come up with a new plan, okay? So let's see what we got going on. Maybe we'll start to dip our toes into this NVDA and see if we get that bounce, because we have been selling for the majority of the session. So here we go. We're going to get into some NVDA and look for that potential bounce. All right, so if we break 134, then we're out of town. And that is it, guys. So yeah, continue to let us know what you're looking at in the chat. Let's go over some of the top volume stocks here on the session and see who we got at the top of the class. And I don't really have to guess. I probably know who is. Sharif, can you guess who's at the top of the class? Most volume traded today is
Tesla or NVIDIA.
Yeah, that's it. And so 97 million shares traded on NVDA. SockCell sitting in second place with 46 million, and then TSLA with 38.8 million shares traded, and then PLTR sitting in fourth place as well too. So let's see what's going on. Pathik says, Joe, we should get a bounce here. VIX is dropping. Good to see. I'm glad that you're paying attention to the VIX as well too, guys, because that is important. It can help give direction as well if you're trading options, but also just a good gauge on the overall market sentiment. I told you the inverse correlation between the market and the VIX. Keep an eye on that, all right? Sometimes I don't pay enough attention to it, but sometimes when I do, it really helps me with my positioning, all right? So when I'm like, oh, okay, I'm looking for a long, but the VIX is continuing to appreciate, our climb higher, then I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't the sentiment I'm looking for in the market, because if the VIX is going higher, that usually means the market is going lower. So you're not going to get those deeper bounce plays that you are looking for. So, Joe, if it helps others, I started long positions, then swing, then options. I use the options to replace swings, helps manage the risk and preserve capital. So charting for years to learn stocks. Zero gravity Zen. Well said, perfectly said. We'll give you the bang and the money storm on that, because that is exactly almost step by step on how I started. I didn't start diving into options until about a year or 2 years into my tenure in trading. So there it is, one step at a time, and then eventually one chapter at a time, and then eventually you create a book. Okay, so there it is on that one, guys. Nice look there, Zero Zen. Really like that input. Greg V, market breadth creeping up slowly. That's good for the market, Greg. I know you're always keeping an eye on advancing and declining, and from a percentage metric too, you always make sure that I know, hey, breadth is weak today, our breadth is strong, and sure enough, with stronger breadth, then the market will start to climb higher and recover, guys. But here we are in NVDA, slowly starting to climb off those bottoms.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that because it got into pivot points. And yeah, this 134.50, there seems to be a lot of buying around this 134.50-ish area. We'll keep an eye on that for sure. All right, what's the situation over here? PHIO is still going, guys. So that out that we had at 4 1/4, well, it just printed about 25 pennies higher than that, 453 now HOD. VWAP is at 388, but I'll submit to you 4, likely an important level if this one comes down, just because of the initial rejection at 4 and then the whiffle and the waffle sideways, a little bit above, a little bit below 4. So 4 could be an interesting dip trade on PHIO. Here comes aggressive selling into that $0.25 on this name. So I'll keep tabs on that. What else we got over here? Let's just go back to NVIDIA for a second, because this could be an interesting out. I'm just less inclined to want to take anything right now on the future with this one, with the future still putting in lower lows and lower highs. So I'm just going to pack my patience on this one. Yeah, I'm going to leave this one alone. I don't want to be jumping too much between the small caps and the large caps. All right, let's have a look at our friend ARCAT over here. Still involved in this name. Still no ad at that 10:30. Did reject VWAP and then made a red candle. So we'll see if this one wants to come back in. ABAT still kind of moving sideways. Nothing going on with that one after someone pointed it out. It's only up 16% again. Weekday today, I would say, for small caps. Not too many running, not too many names, not as much direction as we typically see with these small cap gappers. The RUS is the only indice that's actually that's green. The ES is flipping back and forth from 0 to, a little bit above 0, a little bit below. The Dow as well, right at that flat mark, but the RUS is actually green. The reason I mentioned the RUS, obviously, is because I'm looking at these small caps, trying to gauge the strength of small caps vis-a-vis the RUS. So we'll keep tabs on that, obviously. What else you guys looking there at in the chat? Jay Lee telling me Wolf, still climbing, never played it, was too worried of Hwadunk. Let's have a look at WOLF for the OG, Jay Lee. WOLF.
Jay Lee.
Hey. Yeah, good look, Jay. I mean, look, it's not parabolic or anything, but that's a healthy move up from yesterday, 8 a.m. to today. We're up 46%. Light work, up 5 1/4 today, obviously, but from that yesterday print at 8 a.m. when it really started getting its footing under it, we're up almost 50%. The break-even point today, Jay, on WOLF is at 6 2/3. Looks like 668 was the HOD, but I see your point. That $7 area, not super clean in terms of its break, but I'm hesitant to jump into this as a short, Jay, just because it's above the 10 exponential, and you know my rules. I don't short these small cap gappers if they're trading north of the volume weighted average price. I'm sure there's people that do, and they do it very well, but I will not. So I'll keep an eye out on that one. I'm still keeping my eye on FSIs. It's still definitely dancing in front of 5, but this one really does look like it wants to break down now below $5. I've placed my stop below this area crest or area trough over here. We'll have to see if 5 ends up holding. It held before $5 level, but I think the pattern was fundamentally different last time around than it is this time. So this doesn't bode well for FSI, and ARCAT is breaking above VWAP again. So let's have a look at this one. Anything above this pop right here at 1045s and we're gone. ARCAT recovering well here, man, off that 959 low of day, and now it's at VWAP and looking to take that 10.5 area. By the way, the closing print yesterday on ARCAT's around 1090. So that if it moves up into 11, that could be an interesting area to punch in short as well. Let's see what everybody else is looking at over here. People saying Walmart, J&J, XTIA. Okay, all good names. None of them are small. Well, maybe XTIA. Let's have a look at that one. XTIA. XTIA. What is this one? XTI Aerospace. Oh, okay. 11.5% midday pop there with some volume. Still light volume, about 71,000 shares per 5-minute candle, but up nicely 12 and a fifth here. Shout out to Hertz Scrambler for calling that one out, Joseph.
A good look there, my guys. So yeah, let's see what we got going on here. Let's pull up NVDA here. That bounce off the bottom looking pretty good thus far. Let's see if we can continue. We don't know how deep this pullback is going to be, considering the momentum to the downside was extremely weak. So yeah, a little bit of a bounce, but if it starts to come back and you see price really turn around and that tape get weak, as you can see right now, then it might be a good signal to get out of Dodge and potentially some more downside. But as of right now, nice bounce, breaking through some key resistance levels around 138.40 here on NVDA. We're not even down a percentage point on this thing. So only down about 0.85% on the day. But yeah, the overall market is a choppy mess. We know that jobless claims this morning, right? Yeah, it came in a little hot. What was it? Let me pull up the actual sheet here and see what we got going on, because I know
like 20,000 miss.
Yeah, it was something along those lines. So actual is around like 217,000, and then prior revised consensus was 212K. So a little hot there. Some more reports or claims than what was projected. But again, you've seen the print on CPI yesterday, PPI the day before. So again, some push and pull in the market, and we're rolling into earnings seasons as well, too, guys. So yeah, that is that. Yeah, I don't know. Do we have Neil's lesson of the day?
We'll wait for the call.
Okay, we'll wait for the call there and see what we got going on. We just had the first poll going up, guys. Now the Playmaker poll is about to come up here. Oh, look at that, on the ball. Let's see, right on the ball there. Let's see, I did a little modifications to it, too.
This guy's putting in work.
Yeah, man, come on. We got to make it a
the
little
other one,
Yeah,
too,
and the other one, too. Yeah, we'll get that going there. There, surely, I think you guys will have fun in that, but we're just trying to make it a little more attractive there and not so bland, so we can see what we have going on. But yeah, NVDA continuing to crawl higher here, and the market's starting to turn around here. We are going to send it off to Adara and then Neil.
Take a look here at the market. The NASDAQ, surprisingly, and I'm being slightly sarcastic here, is still flat on the day. Has been a very choppy session here for these major indices. S&P 500 actually faring slightly better, both from a percentage standpoint and also on the chart. Looks like we're making slightly higher lows here, potentially poised for a breakout, but the SPY faces some pretty clear overhead resistance around that 594 and a third level, We do have all of these TikTok-related stocks on watch. The TikTok tailwind, as Sharif calls it, could actually be a little bit in danger, because we do have both, first, a Washington Post report suggesting that Donald Trump's team will try to issue an executive order, though it seems unlikely from a technical standpoint that could go through, basically stopping the ban. Now we actually have, as reported by Bloomberg, a member of the incoming Trump administration saying that they will stop the app from going dark. So keep that on watch. Lots of attempts here to turn in this market. Apple actually making a little bit of a bounce down, about 3% here. We heard a little bit about those iPhone sales and a bit of a change in the tides there in terms of number one, specifically in China, with Apple being usurped. And a lot of these earnings names here on the NYSE on watch as well. United Health, we have TSM, and we have the banks. But before we send you to Neil and his always exciting listen of the day, we're going to take a moment to thank our friends at Prop Firm Match. Are you a skilled trader but lacking capital? Prop firms offer the opportunity to trade with simulated funds, allowing you to showcase your skills access accounts sizes ranging from 5,000 to 500,000, and you could start with as little as $20. But with over 500 prop firms out there, how do you find which ones are the best? That's where prop firm Matt steps in. Prop firm Matt is your go-to platform for finding and comparing only the most esteemed prop firms with proven track records and consistent long-term payment histories. Access over 4,500 verified reviews, explore payment histories, and discover the best current deals all in one place. So scan that QR code or visit propfirmmatch.com today and find the perfect prop firm for you. But for now, we're going to go back to Neil and his lesson of the day. Take it away, Neil.
Your lesson of the day. When they are buying, see AMAT, or when they are selling, see Apple, just join them. And you're going to ask yourself this question. Who do I mean by they? What do you guys think? Who are they? It doesn't matter who they are. Whether it's the programs, whether it's institutions, whether it's Shaw, I don't care. When you see something like this, I have zero shorts on Apple today. And I like The Rock. No, I have zero shorts on Apple today. Okay, fine, maybe we'll get one of these longs to actually extend. I'm in another one off the 230 level, which we said. But program buying is sort of obvious after it starts. Or selling in this particular case. I know I keep saying buying as if it's the only thing that does happen. I will get to AMAT in a second. It's not obvious right away. Like you have a standard break of the low on Apple. You have a standard break of the low wick at VWAP. That's a standard short entry if you're bearish on the stock. Let me give you a look at yesterday's as well. You've got another standard play where it kind of breaks down underneath prior support in the afternoon. Like there's a bunch of those things happening. But it's when it gets past here, at about 236.5, the little pivot spot, and does a pretty nasty wicking 236. Looks to me like it was trying to catch a bit of a bid there very early on, and then another rejection of VWAP. It's just, at some point, you look at this and that resolution, and then it holds a trend, breaks the low. You're now down $4 when it makes this low break here at 236, or maybe $3.50 from the top. At that point, you can start to see that you've got a little bit of trend. It's not even obvious then. Where do you think it's obvious? Everyone's staring probably at something like a 235. What happens when the buyers come in on an even dollar level? It breaks 235 here. The first green candle holding 235, incorrect. Holding under the even dollar 235 is the first green candle on Apple. First one of the day. Rejecting an obvious even dollar break back out and then resume trend down. This is the point where at about 10, 12, 10, 15, where it's like, okay, I mean, what are we looking at here? We're looking at a trend short to the downside. And you can make the argument that a lot of times I say the same thing. When you have a trend line like this, I'm looking to revert it. But at some point, you just want to take any setup you can find on a deep and obvious trend like this. And so you start, and you can say you're like overtrading these, but like when I look at when it breaks down here, if you're looking for a short, now granted, I didn't take any of these, look at it level off at 234. So see this candle right in here at 10:15 on a 3-minute. There's it trying to break back above 234 and failing it, then breaking local bottom. That's a reasonable entry. It's like 233.80 in here, where you can stop it at either 234.30 for a 50-cent stop, or you can go with a tighter stop. Just to get involved in the trend. Like little things like that, just one little rejection candle at an even dollar, join, tight stop, try to get into it. Now it's easy to look at this in hindsight, but at the end of the day, if you're not bearish on Apple, you're probably not going to have that trade. But here's where you can look at it in the other direction, because while the market, as everyone has been able to see, has been making lower highs all the way through, that's the NASDAQ making lower highs since the morning. Well, that was all going on. There was a stock that was bullish that got some program buying into it and never really stopped, and that would be AMAT. Now, we were talking about this in the context of TSM earnings. Okay, well, the CapEx spend was good, and that's going to be good for AMAT, LAM, and ASML. Well, I got away from this. Ultimately, I tend to find myself not liking failed breaks of highs of the day when the market is going in the other direction. I tend to not be fighting things, but overall, that saved me more times than it's burned me. That said, followed a rule, failed high break when the market was trending the other direction and I trailed out. Right after that, it resumes on trend. When we talk about program buying, this is what we're getting at. It stays on trend after a failed high break when the market is weak, when other chip names aren't doing it, when NVIDIA wasn't doing it at that moment. So where's your entry point? What can you do about that? Look for a very simplistic, basic, non-complicated entry point right here. Just like in Apple, identify the trend, identify the first green candle and what happens after. Identify the first red candle and what happens after. It breaks. This candle here is after the high break, previous high. Look where it bases, right at the prior high, and then breaks it back out. So whether you're taking the break of this prior candle or somehow magically getting this fill here, no, I think you're taking this break of the high, 188.16 or so. Now you can stop that at this prior bar open or close, whatever you want to do, or you give it a wider stop down into here. It's just a matter of looking for the first, when it resumes trend instantly, when a stock that you think is going to go the other way and revert, if it resumes trend instantly, that's a good sign that you've got somebody that wants it. And when somebody else wants it, you want to get and join the party. It's so much better to join buying or selling than it is to try to make it happen in the other direction or make it happen in general. In this particular case, sometimes it's just about that first red candle in a green move that you can try to find an entry off of. Obviously, I should be back in AMAT. I'm not. I did go back into Robinhood at least, but that's not nearly as good as AMAT. And just like Apple, you're just trying to simplify it at this point, right? Like I don't know who's selling Apple today. I don't know. Like, well, maybe we'll find some 13F filing or some nonsense in a couple of weeks or something along those lines that gives us an indication of what was going on in Apple. It doesn't really matter. What matters is it was just all red candles. And the very first green candle on the 3-minute of the day, it gave you a hint and it gave you a setup for the short. And ultimately, you have to be looking at it. And I want to thank everybody in the chat because I was looking at chips and Hood and crypto and pretty much everywhere that wasn't Apple until you guys said it was blowing up. So thank you guys for pointing it up because you want to look at something like Apple when it's making those moves. You know, ultimately, you have to give it a shot. When it's moving like this. But the earlier you can join that short, the better. Like if support's at 230, 232, Apple did give you multiple opportunities. Before it got to the levels that you were looking at, I was looking for a bounce, there was right here. And now that it's at the 230, we'll see. But you've got to be able to see that pattern, join it as quickly as possible. I'm not advocating waiting for it to get to the low, like, waiting for it to get all the way down here and shorting it. No, but before it gets to that price, maybe see what you can find a little bit earlier. So join the trend. Doesn't matter who's making it. All that matters is it's distinct price action, and you want to follow it. That's your lesson of the day.
Thank you very much, Neil. Informative, eloquent, and just all around awesome. As always, Neil Roberts, every day around that noon hour, dropping his lesson of the day. We got the Playmaker poll on, baby. So yeah, make sure to weasel your way on into the chat and vote. We have about 425, votes right now. Yeah, we're going to need that up a little bit. So it's super simple. We either going long or short right now, Joseph. It doesn't seem to matter what the market is doing. No. The chat likes to go long.
The chat likes to go long, yeah.
Right now we got 64-36. Shout out to Bill Pruitt. Did I absolutely kill your name? And if I did, I apologize. Absolutely incredible, Neil. Thank you so much for the lesson. I appreciate you. My man is dropping the cash $10 super chat. Thanks you very much, Big Bill. We're gonna call you Big Bill.
Oh, Big Bill, yeah.
Oh, well, Big Kyle might want to fight him after that. Because last time I called anybody else Big Kyle tried to fight them. Oh, he's like, you don't give anybody else the big moniker. That's
where is that guy today?
Right there. I don't know. He'll probably show up once we go red on the day.
Yeah, I thought he would have been here.
He's usually
right and early.
Listening.
Yeah, he's definitely listening. So now that we mentioned him, we got that. So I know they were doing like the back call. We need the Big Kyle call now.
Oh yeah.
Kyle signal.
We got to go up to the big desk though. Adair's got something for us.
And hear that there.
I
And once again, this is going to be not a super surprising headline. We have even more people reporting that Donald Trump does not want the TikTok ban to go through. The latest headline here coming from our friends at the New York Post, New York Times, saying that Trump is, quote, said to consider executive order to circumvent the TikTok ban. It just sounds like at this point they're re-reporting the story that Washington Post reported. Though it is worth noting once again, as Sharif mentioned this morning, it's actually very difficult for an executive order to ban something that's already been passed by Congress, especially because we don't actually have comments here yet from the Supreme Court on this ban. So this is still pretty much in limbo. At this point, though, it's worth noting we've had apparently a Trump advisor for the incoming administration saying that he wants to stop the app from, quote, going dark. There's a lot of evidence here suggesting that he does not want this ban to go through. So keep an eye on META and SNAP with that in mind, given that they were the biggest beneficiaries from that TikTok tailwind that Sharif has spoken about here. I also want to note here, we're actually having more confirmation hearings for Donald Trump's potential incoming cabinet. Today we have Scott Bessent, who's set here for the Treasury position. So position currently, held by Janet Yellen. And it is worth noting here, basically, he said that he wants the Federal Reserve to remain independent, but he's actually contradicted the comments of the Federal Reserve and a lot of other parties when it comes to the inflationary, effects of Donald Trump's policies. He said that he could not think of a single Donald Trump policy that would be inflationary or bring up prices. So that's actually pretty interesting there. Keep an eye on that. Again, we will continue to bring these hearings to you as long as they have market-related information coming out. And with that, we are brought to you by WorkSport. Introducing a new discovery on the NASDAQ, WorkSport, ticker WKSP. WorkSport is a U.S.-based manufacturer and rapidly expanding with glowing revenues, government contracts, and innovative green energy products designed to power your life off-grid. So whether you're on the move or if you're seeking sustainable energy solutions, WorkSport has you covered. Now trading on the NASDAQ under WKSP. Discover the future of clean energy with WorkSport. Back to you.
Joseph.
Yeah, I was sitting here in some NVDA, but nothing is inflationary. That is crazy. What a hot take that is. But yeah, guys, sitting in some NVDA here, slowly crawling higher, pulling back a bit now. I mentioned I don't know how deep this pullback was going to be. We didn't get the volume print that we were looking for necessarily to say, hey, we're actually going to turn around and kind of do a V shape. But here we are still slowly grinding higher. Look for it to run into some key resistance, now resistance and what was once support. So if we go and touch this level around 136.26, I look for those key levels, look how price reacts around there, and then reassess and see how your thesis or your trade is working out. So that's what I'm going to do. That's the game plan. We're going to hold to 136.3s.
All right. FSI's recovered a little bit over here. From that $5 almost, well, it did technically break $5 by about 6 pennies, 7 pennies, right up back into that 5 1/4, basically where we had gotten in. So going to keep my eye out on that one. I don't like to take, obviously, opposite positions, but I'm short NVIDIA at this level because we dropped, Joseph, below 21.4 on the future. So I kind of felt that this was an interesting area to short the monster NVIDIA. And we've gotten a couple of prints out right now. I'm going to look to see if that 135 break is incoming. It doesn't look like it's incoming as quickly as I'd like. So we'll keep tabs on this one. It's kind of been, lower lows and lower highs right now on the future. I'm trying to base this look on the future. And then we come into the 10 exponential moving average on NVIDIA, and we kind of curl off there, kind of looking like that rounded top kind of effect. So we'll see what we get here with the monster NVIDIA. It's down 0.86. How many shares do I have on this thing? Okay. All right. Well, we'll probably wet our beak a little bit over here as well, and then we'll wait for that 135 break for the next out. So I won't be taking out any more over here. Here comes 135. So I'm looking for this. There's size at 135. Okay, there it just bounced off 135. So got into there. There was decent size, not great, but decent size at that 135er. Let's see if that wants to give up the level. Here we go again. There it is. Good. So let's see what we can get now in the 88s. I'm going to wait at 88. Shout out to what's his name? Michael Irvin. So we'll look for that if it does want to come in. All right, let's go back to FSI. Still dilly-dallying right now with that 525. Nothing doing there, but I am happy that I didn't get stopped out of that one. So we'll keep an eye out on that. So not much going on other than the short that I have on. I'm not really going to give it much room above the $0.25. I've de-risked the majority of the position. If it wants to pop up there, then we shall take it out. NVIDIA looking strong right now, popping up off 135. Hammer candle hasn't closed yet, but it is looking like there is buying off that 135. And now as I look at the futures candle as well, it is also a hammer candle going back into 21,400. We dropped well below 21.4 all the way into 21,370, and now we're recovering about 30 points off that low, looking really good from a hammer candle perspective, but not definitive, because it's just one candle. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. Back to FSI, down it goes again. This one, there looks like they're selling at 5 1/4, 5 1/3, because as quickly as we made it up, as quickly as we're making it back down now. So we'll keep tabs on this one, see what comes of it. Joseph.
Hey, good luck there, my guy. I'm just going to edit something here just for the quote highlights. If we could pull up my chart, that'd be fantastic. So yeah, just there, so you can see. So I vary this, so these are just quote highlights on the L2, so you can see specific size. I like to throw that on in. It helps you determine an imbalance on the bid and the ask, all right? So I should probably make that a little bit smaller, but as of right now, as I change through tickers, that will vary too. So again, price, you might have to, if your platform allows you to do so, it's good to see an imbalance and a ladder that can be possibly built on either side, the bid or the ask, and that can determine, hey, is this bullish or bearish sentiment? So yeah, use those quote highlight guys. Darius Golden asked me as well too. He said, Joe, what's a good expiration for swing trades? And Darius, you and I have had this conversation before. Buy as much time as you want, all right? Don't think about the fast buck. Just think about what the options contract can give you in that period of time, all right? So don't worry about trying to get those crazy percentage returns. Just focus on moderate, slow gains, I think, to start. Get some W's under your belt, but just buy the time. That's my opinion, right? Just buy the time. It's worth it, because I know when I was trading contracts, it's like, okay, yeah, you go a week or two or even a month out, but then you're off on your thesis because it's from a broader perspective. And then sure enough, you're like, oh, okay. And I say this time and time again is that, okay, once your trade starts to work out, and you're like, well, why aren't I profitable? Is well, because your contract got destroyed by theta, and you don't want that. So buy the time, all right? So if you're looking in a week video, like a 1 to 2 week window, buy 3 months, buy 6 months until expiration. Once that price starts to appreciate and head toward it, in your favor, then that delta and then that gamma will start to pick up. So don't worry about that right off the jump. Unless you're selling far out the money, is just buy that time, and it's going to help you. And it's a lot less stressful as well, too, just knowing that, okay, I don't got to worry about this like $45 pair of contracts that I have, so $4,500 that are going to expire worthless in 4 weeks. And it's like, okay, well, the stock's not moving, it's depreciating, and my contracts is just losing intrinsic value day by day, and you're losing extrinsic value day by day as well, too. It's stressful. It's a derivative that you really need to get an understanding of. And with that, I think you'll get more of an understanding if you just buy more time. But let's see what Adara's up to.
Just keep an eye on Rumble, which is really strong today. RUM rumbling to the upside with about a 15% short float. I don't actually have a catalyst on this. They did get an upgrade apparently yesterday, but with Rumble, I want to note this is definitely viewed as a Trump sympathy play. It ran after the election alongside DJT and PHUN, and it has a more specific connection to JD Vance. JD Vance co-founded this firm, Naria Capital, and Naria Capital actually had a major investment in Rumble. This is as of late October 2022, but I believe they invested a little bit earlier. Regardless, Naria Capital actually has a seat on Rumble's board, and it was amongst the company's top 10 shareholders. Again, as of late October 2022, I can't find any more recent information. And JD Vance also reportedly at one point had a stake in the company, pretty small, valued around $100,000 to $250,000. So it is worth noting, I guess, because of that historic connection. Again, when I've looked recently, I can't find any definitive proof of his current involvement. But regardless, RUM viewed as a Trump sympathy play, specifically because of its connection to JD Vance. And we know we do have, A, a couple days before the inauguration, and B, we have all of these confirmation hearings going on right now with the Senate for Donald Trump's cabinet. So keep an eye on RUM popping to the upside with, again, that 15% short flow. Definitely worth noting, guys. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dara. Someone was asking for updates on TSM Muscan. Yeah, they reported this morning, man. And by all accounts, it was a blowout quarter for them. We can talk a little bit about it. I got my notes from the morning set up on the side over here. So TSM kind of single-handedly brought up some other names with it, ASML, as well as AMAT, I believe, Lamb Research as well. Neil was talking about that. So good look there. So I got my 88 fills on NVIDIA. I'm gonna move up my stop. Move down my stop into the quarter dollar. So we're gonna go 135.26 for the last remaining out there, and we'll give it so we're gonna get stopped out for the remainder over here as it comes back into that quarter dollar. I don't have to be nursing this. It looks like it's gonna be strong, so we'll be profitable on it, but we're done that trade. Let me just cancel all the other ones that I got on it over here. Do I have anything on PHI? Oh yeah, I want to get rid of that. Okay, so here it is. Taiwan Semi, a monster year, man. Revenue increased 38.8%. Profit popped 57%. We're talking about year over year on the quarter. They're raking in, Joseph, 26.36 billion in revenue. And if you think, their margins are bad, well, just have a quick gander at what the net income is. 11.37 billion in profit. That is take-home money. That's a fantastic look there. Really contributing to their performance was high-performance computing segment, which includes obviously AI and 5G. That contributed 53% of their Q4 revenue. They also had good AI and Apple chip demand, according to them. Their 2024 revenues now hit, $87.96 billion, the highest ever since it's gone public. Their AI-related revenue expected to double in 2025 after it already tripled in 2024. Some possible headwinds, if you want to talk about that, U.S. restrictions with respect to exports to China for advanced chips, as well as Donald Trump's incoming trade policy with respect to tariffs and how that could complicate things. So Taiwan Semi is a dang rocket ship. We're really close to $1 trillion now. Officially, the market cap, as I look at it, $906.5 billion. So we're about 100 billion, less than 100 billion, 94 billion away from that $1 trillion market cap. But you and I talked about this before. The Taiwan Semi trades overseas as well.
Yes,
over there, it's $1 trillion.
It's $1 trillion.
So we're going to have to wait for it to weasel over $1 trillion North American market so it can join the Trilly Club.
So join the Trilly Club. Yeah, I mean, it's an elite level club. We had Broadcom joining it earlier in the year as well too. There it is, guys. TSM, a little disappointing, Sharif. Let's talk a little about it from a technical standpoint. I do think that we break out at some point. Like, look how this price is starting to press and continue to compress. So at some point, I do think it's going to break out. Which direction, only time will tell, and allow momentum and volume to tell you which way we're going to go. But I do think it's going to go to the upside. This is a NYSE, top side, strong side, but this is a NYSE stock, mind you guys. Mind you, this is a. Did you ever watch Did you ever watch Gridiron Gang? Did you ever see that movie, The Rock? You've never seen the Gridiron Gang?
Oh, hold on. Is that the bodybuilding one?
No, it's a football kid. So like a bunch of juvenile delinquents go there, and big football. It's a good one there, a good football movie. But yeah, anyways, back to stocks, guys. Here it is with TSM. I think if the market starts to move as well too, it looks like the Qs are starting to form somewhat of a double bottom here, so that can be positive. And I think TSM is going to break to the top side. If it can go through these levels of resistance with some momentum and volume, then I think we can continue to the top the northeast and go for that push of all-time highs, because we're not too far off of that there, Sharif. We tapped into it real close here and then rejected fairly heavy, almost to the penny, my guy, on TSM. So let's see if that momentum steps back in the overall market, and I think TSM is going to participate as well too. I was telling myself this morning before I rolled out of bed, just be prepared, because I knew that TSM was reporting, and it's just like be weary of this thing, because it wicks you out. And I've traded it a couple of times where it's like, okay, entry 1 doesn't work, entry 2 doesn't work, entry 3, it's like, okay, what's going on here? And then sure enough, by the 4th test, it goes. And here we have it. Let's break it down one more time and see what we got going on before we send it back to Sharif. So holds it once, holds it twice. Let's see if it can hold it this third time, guys. And if it breaks through, then you got to trade there. prices compressing, higher lows, looking like a good long if that volume steps in.
Yes, sir. Okay, we flipped long with you now on NVIDIA.
Okay,
so
all right,
done the short,
go.
flipped long, already a couple of outs, scalping. I want to see if we can get into 136 and a quarter. That's the closing print. We've got to get through though 135.60-ish. That's a 20 exponential. So here's the deal. We're at a precarious area right now at VWAP. So we've cleared 400. So 400 we've kind of left as support now. Now we're having to contend with VWAP. Now, there hasn't been a whole lot of interaction between the future and VWAP today, but we are rejecting off it for the moment. And the reason I say there hasn't been a whole lot of interaction, well, look, we were trading above it below it for the most part. And when we traded above it, there was no rejection there. This is the area I'm talking about right here. And then, we broke above it quite, I don't want to say handily, but we got above it by quite a bit, and then we made a new low after that. So we'll have to see how this whole thing ends up shaking out, but I'd like a possible 136 and a quarter move on the monster NVIDIA. That would please me greatly. So let's see if we can get the print in the high 50s. I'm still waiting. I've been waiting at 59s, and then I'm waiting at 69s for the print. There's a 59 print. Now we're printing 63s. Can we get the 69 print right now on the monster NVIDIA? 60. Now we're at the 20 exponential moving average on the 5. We're also at VWAP on the future. So two important areas in my estimation right now on NVIDIA. This could mean nothing. This could mean, we can just continue to move up. But we're rejecting again at VWAP on the future at 21.4 and a quarter. I'm talking about 21,425. We're not clearing it with any decisiveness quite yet. So I'm looking to scalp on the way out over here. Let's go back to FSI because it's me off. 5 and a quarter now seems to be the level where we're encountering major selling. So we've broken above it like very quickly, but we're retraced below it super quick as well. So this is the area I'm talking about. Last time we were above it 5 and a quarter right there. Then we got above it again at 12.15, and now we're actually rejecting that 5 and a quarter on FSI. We'll have to keep an eye on this monster to see what the situation is. PHIO is getting a bit of a curl off 360. Not an area that I would have gauged as support. Double bottom on the 1, now curling. Let's see if it can take out this area trough at 385. I'm talking about PHIO. This is one that I was involved in earlier for small cap gappers. Okay, so we move up here on NVIDIA into 67. I'm waiting at 69. Nothing yet on NVDA. We're going to wait here, Joseph, because we're still rejecting the volume-weighted average price on the future. Shout out to Pretty Panda. SES got some move above current resistance. Volume spiking. Let me have a look quickly at SES. I just don't want to digress away from NVIDIA for too long. I want to be able to make decisions. SES looks good here. 21% and change. I'm seeing it now on my scanner. It's just weaseled, Pretty Panda, above $1. So as our friend and excellent small cap gapper trader, Luis Barbado, made very clear to Brendo today, there is what I've been saying for, I don't know, a couple of years. It is a fundamentally different trade north and south of $1. Not for the reasons that I knew, though. I knew that that was the case just having observed it. He actually brought very good information. He's like, certain algos will shut off once this is below, once the stock is below $1. A couple of reasons for that. One, your rebates apparently are not available or not as good, so it's not as lucrative to trade it south of $1. In addition to that, you've got the 4 decimal places at that area, so you're having to encounter resistance at many more areas than you would if you only were trading at 2 decimal places. Not a reason that I would have thought of offhand, but one that he articulated this morning and one which makes sense having thought about it. So I'll keep an eye out here on SES just because it is above VWAP. We'll get rid of, who are we going to get rid of here? Holo. Okay, we're going to take off Holo because it's below VWAP and useless to me. I'm going to keep an eye here, Pretty Panda, on SES to see if it can hold above that $1 area. If it can stay above that $1 area, we can use it kind of as our area support, and then we'll see what the situation is at that time. Joseph, what are you giggling about?
No, Jaspreet says, I think BTC will be above 125K.
Okay.
By next week, my guy. So that's what I mean, anything is
Your
possible.
boy Donald could absolutely get that. Like one of his first orders of business, he steps into the White House after he's finished dropping the mic. He talks about the boom, the strategic reserves coming in.
So is that
guarantee you?
Is that what? Is
like
that
20,000 off that?
Yeah, you think so?
On a strategic reserve announcement?
Yeah. Sorry, no.
Yeah,
so do you think he's going to do that, though? No, I would think it would go north of that, man. You're looking at some hefty prices there. So is that what you think he's doing? He's coming in, he's just dropping in a bunch of new regulation, and then that's it.
He's made it clear, bro. He's trying to stop the TikTok ban before he's even been sworn in.
But I heard Sean say this, too, earlier in the morning. He's like, the guy just talks, right? He just says, and I said this before, I was like, if Joe Biden wanted to ban TikTok, he would be like, no, we're not banning it. And if Joe Biden was like, no, we're not banning it, he would be like, yeah, we're going to ban it. You know, I just think he's that, you know what I mean? He's that guy, you know what I mean?
I agree with you, I agree with you.
But he's a personality, so good luck there. But guys, IBIT continuing to climb higher here, looking really nice for the dip by this morning. So that was nice, good luck there, guys. Now putting in a new high a day. Let's see if we can go and test yesterday's highs as well. A beautiful double top here, and then we reject and then gap down in the pre-market. So the overnight trading on spot was a little bearish here, but now starting to recover. I think this is going to be a big moment on Bitcoin. If we can break through this, I mentioned this time and time again, let's pull up spot itself. BTC.
Meta's breaking out.
Meta's breaking out too. So so the market's starting to climb a little bit higher here, Sharif, and I think Taiwan's about to participate as well too. A nice accumulation phase, and then let's see if we can break out and go to the top side on Taiwan, because it is forming somewhat of a bullish pattern. But if it breaks to the low on Taiwan, then it might be a little bit alarming. But here we are. Here is BTC. Let's zoom out here on the daily, and we marked this out before, guys. So we had that trend line here and here, and we rejected these levels pretty aggressively. And I mentioned that we're going to need some momentum in order to punch through. And let's see if that starts to happen. We know what happened in the latter half of yesterday's session as well. So we'll keep that in mind, and we'll continue to monitor Bitcoin.
Yes, sir. Okay, so NVIDIA coming back down, anything below $0.25. I've got two more outs actually on this, but it is rejecting the 20 exponential, and the future is rejecting VWAP. The future is back at 21.4. Decisions. Do we defend 21.4 now, or do we get locked in a bit of a range? Entirely possible between that 425 and that 400 print. We have higher lows on the future, but we still have, a downtrend for the most part. This is kind of what I'm looking at the side screen over here. If you were to base it off the area trough at 1140, it's a higher low. But here we go, breaking down now below 21.4, rejecting the volume weighted average price, and now we're 10 pennies out of the money on NVIDIA. So we already got out. Good. So the stop triggered there. Everything is good. Am I positive on it? Yes, I am. Good. So we'll keep tabs on that if NVIDIA wants to reset off 135 and create a higher low, because last time it dipped into 134.80. If it wants to hold up at 135 and continue with that higher low, higher high pattern, I could be persuaded to get in, but I don't like the future rejecting VWAP, breaking down below 21.4, so I'll let that one cook. All right, FSI finally doing well on this one. 36 is now showing up on the ask. Let's see 37s. I'm waiting at 40 and then 48. Got several outs on this one, trying to pack my patience. I don't want to take it out early. I didn't wait all this time to take it out near the break even. So let's see what FSI has to offer us here. It's up about 44%, and it's not a bad look. Again, I didn't base this on my usual trading rules to get in above VWAP, because this one was not respecting VWAP to begin with. But what I did like about FSI was the higher lows. And then we kind of ended that higher low situation where we got that consolidative period above $5. So I'm having to trade this one a little bit differently. I'm talking about FSI, the one that you see on your screen there. What else we got? SES seems like it's defending that dollar. So shout out to Pretty Panda. He's the one that brought this to my attention. SES now 4 different wicks all off that dollar area. You have that initial clearing of the dollar at that 12.10 time slot. Then 12.15 we defend. 12.20 we defend. This one doesn't quite make it down. 12.30 we defend. And then again here 12.35 we're defending the dollar. So multiple wicks off that dollar being bought up, but still lower highs and a flat bottom. So it's not exactly a glowing endorsement for a long. right now off the buck. You could get in at a buck and maybe give it to like 95 pennies or whatever you're willing to risk there. Okay, FSIs, I see it coming into VWAP. Ram, did you just see it, Ram? I'm telling you. But look, Ram, I was sending something that I saw on Red Note to Ram. But yo, I gotta tell you, I don't like the For You page on this. Like, this is not how the For You page looks on TikTok. Obviously, I don't want to be given these options. Like, it's the For You page on TikTok is like one single videos, right? Like, anyway, so I'll have to give this one a
well, I mean, it's not going to be exactly how TikTok was.
People were really speaking well about this thing, dude. I mean, I haven't really tried it. Maybe we need to teach it the algorithm a little bit.
Teach it,
teach the algorithm a little bit to show me what I like.
What I like.
All right. Chaitanya. Sorry, man. I hope I didn't butcher your name. BMRA. Any entries? Let's have a look. Bring it over here. SES is defending that dollar, guys. Okay, so this might be along here. But we'll have a look at BMRA for your boy. Okay, so this was good initially, my man. It was a good move up right at, when did it start moving? Right at 8.15. But look how it gave up the ghost, right? It's, number one, it's below VWAP. Number two, it had a whole lot of trouble staying above $1. It did its darndest to stay above buck. But now it's below VWAP with a downward channel holding at 70 pennies. This ain't for me. It's up 95%, so it's respectable percentage up on the day. But with respect to an intraday trade, I'm not liking it. It's going to have to weasel above that volume-weighted average price, which is around 93 pennies. Here's what I'll do, because it initially had a good move under it. I'll put my alert at 89 pennies, so if it approaches that dollar, I'll be made aware ahead of time. So that's a look right now. PHIO continuing to reject at that 40 penny area. We got all the way up into about 38s, but nothing doing there. Let me load up SES here, Joseph, because I might want to work into that off the dollar.
Oh, okay, yeah. Was that a quick transition to your boy there? All right. Yeah, let's see. Jasprit was looking at Hut, and he's like, Joe, what's up with Mara? Like, why are some of these miners moving and the other ones aren't? And the only answer that I could give Jasprit was, like, man, it has to do with something with margins and the cost of energy. Like, it costs so much to operate these mining rigs. And then he's like, okay, but yeah, we have Hut and Riot has more Bitcoin than this, and so on, putting up some valid points. So I just said to him, I think at that point you need to dive into the fundamentals and see what's going on with it. Let's take a look at Mara and compare some of these Bitcoin miners. Why you gotta do that? And here we are. And this is not something you would necessarily want to be invested in, okay? It's a really tough technical look here. Up and down, up and down. A lot of volatility here in Mara for its price as well. So that's the best answer I can give you. Did we take a look at Riot? Let's take a look at Riot as well too. So you have to dig into those and see, like, hey, what's going on? Why is it that Bitcoin continues to appreciate and some of these other Bitcoin miners are, but Mara isn't? So then that's the point where you have to dive into the fundamentals and see, like, what's going on? What's happening with the margins? How much Bitcoin are they mining per day, or whatever it may be? That's where you need to get a little more extensive and throughout the technicals for the time being and see what's going on with that company from a fundamental standpoint, because I don't disagree with you. So if they have the second most to MSTR, then why aren't they appreciating like MSTR was, or like how Bitcoin is? Instead, they just chop around in a range, trade higher for a couple days and then sell off, which can be extremely frustrating and not necessarily something you want to be heavily invested into. So yeah, that's my thought on that, Jasprit. I appreciate the look and the insight as well too. So yeah, Uzukan, sorry if I butchered your name. A little bit of a tough one. Was that the guy who said you could just call him Jim or something like that?
Maybe John. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we just call him John. All right. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but we'll take a look at SoFi. I know Neil and Sean trade this quite often. Yeah. So here we are. Nice consolidation here, forming that pennant with that wedge here, and then that candle sits right on top of the 5-minute and then starts climbing higher. So really good look there on SoFi thus far. Let's zoom out and see what we got going on from a daily perspective as well too. And wow, look at this. Gap up 1, gap up 2, and then an additional gap up on SoFi. Not too far off of these all-time highs. So trading extraordinarily well, only about 5.8% off those all-time highs. and the momentum continuing to the top side. But let's see what Adara's up to.
So just to touch here on what you guys are talking about with regards to how MicroStrategies and Mara both have Bitcoin, but MicroStrategies definitely performs differently than Mara. That could be because, as we discussed yesterday in the market recap, the amount of Bitcoin that MicroStrategy has is significantly higher than the amount held by Mara, which is, again, the public company that holds the second largest amount of Bitcoin. And I want to note, too, this is actually an original graphic here from TTV Research. We've talked about this and posted this a while back, but I wanted to show it so you guys can see the massive percentage difference. MicroStrategy holds more than 75% of all of the Bitcoin held by publicly traded companies. And it holds about 2% of all of the Bitcoin that's been discovered. So that's a pretty massive thing to note here. A Marathon Digital, by comparison, holds about 40,000 Bitcoin compared to MicroStrategy's almost 450,000. And that's as of late December. So just to be aware here, part of the reason they might perform differently is just due to the sheer, the significant difference in the amount of Bitcoin they hold. Back to you guys.
For that, Adara.
Thank you for that, Adara.
I seen on there that it says Hut has 110,000, or was it 10,000 maybe supposed to be? Yeah.
Sorry?
On her infographic. Yeah, because I seen it, but then it's
on the
part.
infographic?
Yeah, on the infographic. So good. Yeah, there you go, Jaspreet. The one and only answering it for you. So significantly more. And yeah, again, it doesn't mine. It's not in the mining business. It's in just the pure allocation of as much Bitcoin as he can possibly get his hands on. So
he's been very clear.
Yeah, he's
about
not
his
mining.
position. He's an ideologue. I kind of look at him as an ideologue, a true believer. Michael Noss calls him maximalist. I would put him ahead of that. Because, I mean, he's risking ridiculous amounts of money. I guess maybe that's kind of normal for it. Your fortune is 50,000. His fortune is 50 billion. Everyone's fortune is equally as important to them.
Yeah, it's all relative.
What's that?
I said it's all relative.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah.
But I think he's probably going to take every opportunity to lever up and
he just wants to buy as much as he can. So he doesn't really care. That's the game plan. It's not an overly complicated plan that he has going on. It's just acquire as much as you can. And
the methodology by which he does it, like raising capital this way, that I guess where it gets a little tricky. But his intentions are pretty clear.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Guys, I'm back into PHIO. I'm in at $4. I took it all the way up into 4.25. Now we're layering here into a third. It's going to have to defend 4. Otherwise, I'm not going to give anything back up here on PHIO, up 53% and change. We had a nice long on this one earlier, and then we got out of it as it broke below VWAP. Now it's right back above VWAP, and we were able to scalp. But here's the deal. It's got a couple of topping tail candles right now that are pointing to a possible lower high because we only moved up into the $0.25, right? So if that $0.25 by definition is lower than the $0.50, obviously, so this is a lower high. And so I am kind of concerned about that, but I don't want to put too much stock into one candle, topping tail candle that is. So we'll see what this one does. I've already moved up my stop to a skosh below 4 to lock in those profits. It looks like I'll get stopped out if we break below 4 now on this bad boy PHIO. It doesn't look like it wants to hold up over here. Now, I'm involved in SES as well. I'm waiting for that print at 6. We are at 6, but we haven't crossed, so it hasn't printed quite yet. SES, I like this one because it defended that dollar. It's respecting the 10 exponential moving average, everything that I'd like to see in a small cap gapper, but whether it prints or not, an entirely different story, up 27.75%. It's going to have to cross that 6 for me to get printed. The high of the day, though, is 7. It did wick into 7. Didn't spend a whole lot of time there, though. Back to PHIO. Keeping an eye on this one with the lower high situation. Now, you could make the argument that I could have my stop below VWAP at around 390, 388. I'd rather not do that. If it wants to bounce off VWAP, I can certainly be persuaded to get back into it at the time, but I want to lock in profit. So if it breaks below 4, that's it. We're going to cut it. Otherwise, let this one run. The beak wetters there. They're already in. They're already set and ready to take profits if they should so print. SES continues to whiffle and waffle at that 106. No print on that monster quite yet. What is the monster NVIDIA doing? The Katina Man is still long. The Katina Man is long. Amazon at 220, 225. 222.15. 10? Okay, I was going. 222.10. The Katina man basically 4 pennies off the low of the day. He's going to show his chart in a second here. He's going to weasel into the mic too.
In here. What's up, everybody? How's your afternoon going? I hope it's going well. I switched with Ramin. It was chicken on top of the salad, and she so graciously let me have her tuna.
Shouldn't have done that, Katina man.
She's sick of. No, I asked her. She so graciously said that. She was going to. I was like, no, you keep it. But she was very, very kind of that. No, just on the way down in here, I just want to show it to you. Amazon came back in. Here's the 222. Again, just showed up on the 200 period moving average on a 5-minute chart. So we take that one and then we bang it to the upside. And we get out the 50 period moving average. Right now, the 50 period moving average is right here. So we are getting lighter and lighter on Amazon. But I just want to say that was one of our trades. So back over to the midday madness with Sharif and Joseph.
You're looking real good there with that entry. Katina man, shout out to you. Happy with the SES. First print out at 6s, now waiting at 8s. We are at 8s on the ask, but we're going to have to cross. Going to send it to Joseph in a second, but now we got another fill on FSI at 40s. So we'll look for the next fill at 47s. But now we're going to encounter 2 major areas of resistance on FSI. The first and the foremost being VWAP, which on my chart looks like it's at 43s or 44s. And then we got the half dollar, that 50 penny area, which acts as psychological resistance and support for these small cap gappers. So I see you, Joseph. I was looking at the daily chart on PHIO and see the recent day near $10. Can we use this info to inform? Absolutely, my man. Goes without question. That should be a level of resistance that you're looking at. If PHIO really gets its footing under it and breaks above that 453 HOD and really gets parabolic, well, then that $10 area will certainly be an area of resistance. Did I read your comment right? I was looking at the daily chart on PHIO and see recent day near $10. Can we use this info? Yeah. So I did read it right. Yeah, that's going to be a resistance level once we get into it, if we get into it. But we don't have to worry about that quite yet because we are some distance away from that $10 area on PHIO, Joseph.
Hey, good look there. Lemon Musk asked me as well, too, and see what you're looking at. So you say the Adobe 444 call, March 21st. Let's pull it up. I like the way you speak. That is my language, my guy. So here we go, March 21st. Let's see what we're looking at, the 444s. I don't see that strike price. So we have like the 445s here maybe. Slightly out the money, paying a whopping $18.30 for that contract with an IB of around 33. So you're not paying too much implied volatility on that one. So good look there. Let's take a look at Adobe from a technical standpoint and see if it's even worth it. And Lemon, also write in the chat when the earnings report is as well too, because that is going to be extremely important. ADBE. It's not for a while? Okay, thanks, Adara. So yeah, here we are, probably early to mid-February. You thinking, Adara, or something along those lines? Oh, okay, so yeah, so it's not going to be a while, so maybe at the end of February or something. So here we are from an intraday standpoint, looking really pretty and coming off these lows. Oh, wow, this thing has been getting, taken behind the woodshed for a little while here on this one. Let's see what's going on. If you get this bounce off the bottom there, Lemon, then you're looking pretty. So again, give yourself some time as well too, which you did, which is March 21st, about over a month away, so close to 2 months away. That's good, so you can check that box and then ask yourself, is this something that you really want to be buying down here? I mean, buying when there's blood in the streets is a good idea, but is this enough for this price to turn around, especially after this big gap down day, which I'm not too familiar with? Maybe their earnings, big gap down on the earnings, and now slowly recovering. So just really ask yourself, is this the ticker that you want to be involved in, or is there other plays that are potentially with stronger stocks leading in the Northeast? So just ask yourself that. Did you see the $5 super chat, Sharif?
No, I didn't.
By Swoldemort. That's
right. It's Canadian,
yeah,
too,
it's
baby.
a whopping 5 from Swoldemort here. I like that name. AGL breaking out, options chain looking really supportive as well. Let's take a look at AGL for you, my guy, and we'll pull up the chain for Swoldemort. We like that. Swoldemort. Yeah, we love a good name. So yeah, let's see what we got going on here. Options chain supporting it. I'm not too familiar with this stock, but again, that open interest opening up in the for this thing here, yeah, from a daily perspective, 1 day until expiry. And let's take a look at the February 26th, because I don't think they have weeklies on this thing here. Okay, yeah, the 7th, nope, they don't. So they're only monthlies here, guys, on that front. But yeah, the options chain not looking horrible, but not the most liquid thing on the chain. So yeah, good look there, Swoldemort. Appreciate that, and thank you for the $5 super chat. Hopefully that you guys are loving
really
the
good, bro.
Eh?
Yeah,
these guys are loving the Swoldemort. So yeah, here it is from an intraday perspective.
what happened?
Is this? Oh, AGI. I'm like RGI. I'm like, what is this? AGI. Here we go. Sorry about that. And here we are. Yeah. So not looking bad. Primary trend to the top side. You're gonna get the nod up from me on that. We just went over something else with Elon Musk. And look at the difference in the primary trends. This is something that I would be looking to buy calls on, not necessarily Adobe. Look for something that's strong, and then look for that continuation in strength.
All right, Joseph. Sadly, didn't get the print at 10.10 on SES. It comes into 10s, and then it had big size there. There was about it's a dollar name, obviously. It had several thousand lots. I want to say somewhere around 10,000 lots or so, given the price of the stock, though. That's not all that much. What I'm keeping an eye on, though, for is higher lows. So we're in at 104. Let's see if we can continue to move up. I've layered my orders up on this monster over here on SES. There was a big size at that $1.10, but I still like how it traded at $1. So, and I like the higher lows as well. So let's keep an eye out on this one. I'm back into PHIO after taking everything out at the $0.25 there to defend 4. We've already got a couple of prints. Let's see if this one wants to hold up at VWAP and hold up at the $4 area. We're in at 99s, $3.99, anything below $3.90, and we're out because we're not going to give it back. Here we go. I'm waiting at 10s for the next one. So let's layer the orders in case this one gets crazy and wants to pop off. So we'll throw in some orders there. See how this one does. FSI as well. This one displeases me greatly. We get that 540 fill, and then all of a sudden, despite the fact that it hasn't respected VWAP at any time in the day, I'm talking about this piece of garbage here, FSI, it comes into the area, the VWAP area at 1245, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, it's very respectful of the volume weighted average price. So I could have gauged that, obviously, to take profits there, but I like the higher low as well, and anything below the area trough, we're going to get out anyway. So we'll let that one cook. But SES is coming down now. That concerns me a little bit. Yeah, anything below $1, I think I'm done my trade on SES. Again, there's not too much continuity in these small cap gappers. You're having to scrounge for trades during the midday with these bad boys because, well, there's just no continuity, and there's nothing I can do about that. We'll look for the best ones, but there isn't much today. Let's look at this one over here. Just looking at some new ones that I hadn't seen on my scanner before. IBRX looks like it's okay. The volume's a little light on it. 11 million shares. Let's. Who are we going to remove here? We're going to remove ABAT. We're going to put in IBRX. Not a bad looker, trading at the highs there, 287. The volume, as I said, a little bit light for a $2 name, but the chart pattern, quite respectful. Any headline on this? Immunity Bio. Yeah, they've got the company shares climb after they preview their full year 2025 regulatory advances, says this headline vis-a-vis the Dow Jones. Institutional. So yeah, this one could absolutely be a good one right now, trading at the high, 287. Is this? Yeah, that is the high. So we are at the high that we printed at 1025. Let me throw on the ticker here. IBRX is the ticker I'm talking about. Oops. BRX. Let's throw that on. Now, I don't want to punch in at the highs, especially because it's not parabolic in any way. So there's really no reason to punch in at highs. All right, doing well here on PHIO. We've taken out all my orders that I had layered. Now let me layer at 25. So this one does end up defending said whole dollar and said VWAP. There is the print on PHIO, and it's going. Boom. Let's see if this one can take out the $0.50, Joseph. I appreciate you guys.
Let's go.
Let's see. I'm going to put it at 55, see if we can take out that big move up here on PHIO. Big size, though, at the $0.5. Look at that. Hidden seller.
Bang.
Okay, we take him out, and then down we go, Joseph. Let's see if we can continue to move up here on PHIO. This one's getting parabolic, and you can just see by the tape that the participation rate, the tape and the book, participation rate really moving here. Now, this obviously presents you with opportunities for good profits, but you know, it can equally move to the downside. So make sure you're managing risk. I always want to stress that with these small cap gappers because, you know, they're intraday trades. So, you know, it's not something we should be bag holding. So keeping an eye out on this one. Let's see if it runs again. Here comes the $0.5 again on this, on PHIO. No, nothing yet. So just let that one cook. We don't need to keep staring at that one. We'll get the print when we get the print. SES defended the dollar. Back up into 104. Not bad, not bad. Let's see if this one wants to continue to run up, though. Nothing for me to do here. FSI is a piece of crap, so we'll continue to watch that one as well. If it continues to defend the $5 area, fine. If it breaks below that four, I have my out below 490, so I've given it some room, given that it's spready and given that I'm trading it a little bit differently. So that's the look right there, Joseph. What do you got?
Hey, good look there. I had an interesting question in the chat from Cairo here. What are the odds of QQQs being at 520 by the end of the day? And so what does that do? Yeah, that's a great question. So what did I do? I pulled up the options chain and I wanted to see what the smarter people are. The people who are significantly smarter than me and how those calculations work. And I went to that $520 strike price, and sure enough, it's about 86% chance that contract will expire out the money. So it is not looking good as of right now for the Qs closing above $520. And that's the power of the chain as well, too. So that's a great question. And then having the ability to correlate it, that was interesting. So I really like that one. Great question. So 86% chance that it will not close above 520, Cairo. So yeah, really good question. And if you have the options chain as well too, pull it up and look at that strike price. 0 DTE, check the strike price out and let me know your thoughts and what you see from a delta standpoint on that one, guys. But here we are with some NVDA still slowly crawling higher. Looking like we're forming somewhat of a head and shoulders pattern on the 1 minute here, guys, and on the 5 minute as well. So if we break lower and break some of these key support levels, then there might be some more downsides. So gonna pay attention to that. Hopefully we can act as as support here and we bounce off that and slowly climb higher so we can hit that 36.30 price target that we were looking for. But let's pull up our IBIT here too. A little FOMO on that front because this thing has been trading phenomenal. Now putting in a new high a day, hovering around those highs as well. Is IBIT, but nice add here, nice grab at the view up. You know I like getting in and around the volume weighted average price, cheering up, bang, bang, and then here we are holding that, but then a beautiful consolidation phase here on Bitcoin, and then continuing to climb higher. Beautiful breakout there, guys, with that volume. Look at that volume breakout there, and sure enough, you get that engulfing candle, kind of engulfing this whole range right here, and then boom, going from 56.62 all the way up to 57.10. So good luck there. Joe, do you use any websites to gather options data besides what the broker provides? No, I know Sharif uses Market Chameleon. You can look at the expected move on that one. I use Options AI for expected move as well too, which is an additional website. But I don't need too much information other than what the chain is telling me. I don't know what else information I can find. So if you got a lot of information on the options chain, it can tell you the open interest, volume, deltas, all your Greeks, etc., implied volatility. I don't want too much analysis, right? I'm a guy who likes to keep it simple, right? Yeah, I'm a KISS guy, right? Because I'm not the smartest cookie there is or anything, the sharpest tool in the shed. So again, simplistic stuff is much easier for me. I think if you have the ability to simplify things, then you can get a better understanding as well too, and have the ability to kind of reiterate what you're saying and what you're seeing. I don't need to make anything too complex. So yeah, that's just me.
Well said, my man.
Yeah.
All right, so I really, really, really want to stress why I'm so annoying, and I always say manage risk with these dang small cap gappers. They're around for a good time, not a long time. Let's show them the chart. This is what happened. We come into that HOD, we break the high of the day. I almost get printed at 55s, and then all hell broke loose to the downside. Thankfully, we had the stop and play. And I really want to stress this as well. If you are not using market stops, with these small cap gappers, it behooves you to place a decent spread between your trigger price and your limit price. So if you're not using market, you're likely using limit orders, but your limit orders will mean bupkis if there is no liquidity at that price. Case in point, I had my stop below 395. If I had put my stop as a limit order at 395 without a spread between the trigger and the limit, it wouldn't have got filled. But I always, with these small cap gappers, give them 7, 10 pennies. It really depends on the stock, right? And that's exactly what I did here. And then all hell broke loose off that 455 pop, and then it dropped all the way down to 341. We are halted to the downside at 341. And as I look at the theoretical auction price, the top, it's at 331. So 10 pennies below the area where we stopped out, where we halted. So I really want to stress this again, guys. You stop sound risk management skills with these bad boys, because they do have a tendency to do exactly this and drop off the human algos at the big desk.
Thank you there, Sharif. Yeah, Phio, I just saw this here, guys. Phio Pharmaceuticals announcing that $1.83 million registered direct offering at $3 per share. H.C. Wainwright apparently acting as the placement agent. We know a lot of these small caps do have the tendency to run and then announce these offerings, so just be cognizant of that with PHIO. There's a couple other catalysts to be aware of, mostly on NY stocks, interestingly enough. AXP here, American Express, getting its largest volume candle of the day, and that includes the candles at the opening here. Apparently, that is going to be paying $230 million here to resolve some Federal Reserve matters here and some matters with the DOJ. Basically, apparently, these costs were reserved for prior periods with no impact on their guidance. They don't specify what these DOJ or Federal Reserve matters are, but either way here, AXP dropping and then pretty quickly resuming with volume. Also, X was on watch here, US Steel. This came out a while ago, but I just wanted to let you guys know there wasn't any immediate reaction really at the time. It would have come out within these last few 3-minute candles, but Bloomberg reporting that Canada, basically in retaliation to what the US might be doing with tariffs, could be planning some tariffs on steel in the US. So keep an eye on X, though. It's not, the volume on this was not anything significant. Last but not least, FLOC, our new IPO, that is Floco, is open. So keep an eye on FLOC, trading around the $30 level. It's worth noting here, it actually was priced to open at around, I believe, $24 per share. So nice open here for FLOC, guys. Back to you.
Did you flock into that one, Adara? My bad. That was bad. That was bad. Someone did it in the chat too? Okay, well, there you go. Joseph, have you seen the ridge now that's starting to be created between the Canadian premiers? Premiers, by the way, for our American friends, is like the governors of the provinces. So
Dougie and
Big Dougie,
Big Dougie.
he was like, he wore that hat yesterday. Canada isn't for sale. I'll show that in a second.
Yeah,
but your girl Danielle Smith of Alberta,
AB there,
the only Canadian politician invited to the Orange Man's inauguration, she doesn't want to sign on to the whole tariff, like Canada tariff back a lot of American products coming in. She's like, no, she doesn't want any of that love. Every other premier except her chiming on to that. So,
I mean,
we got to have a united front.
We need a united front.
We don't have one right now.
We don't got one right now. It's some division up here north of the border. But I seen Kevin O'Leary mention that she, the premier of Alberta, has spent a lot of FaceTime with Donald. So, building some good rapport.
Yes, she's well known, right? Like well known, in the States. I guess she's the only one invited. So this is what Big Dougie was doing yesterday while we were all at work. He decided, to wear this to the premier's conference. So the Canadian government, the federal government, met with the provincial governments yesterday to kind of organize their strategy against Donald Trump's incoming tariffs. And he says some business owner gave him this hat from Ottawa, and he's like, I'm going to wear it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I don't think that they were trying to buy us, Joseph.
No.
That wasn't really what they were saying, is it?
Yeah,
I don't know. I never heard Donald Trump say he wanted to buy Canada. I heard him say he wanted to buy Greenland. I heard him say he wanted to buy Canada.
It's not for sale, so yeah.
I don't know. So he's like,
it's a good hat, though. I mean,
it's not a bad hat. It looks good quality.
It looks good quality. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, right? A nice curve on that one.
Absolutely. You got like a good stitching in there.
Quality.
What's that, Katina Man? The Katina Man wants one of those hats. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind.
I mean, if we could get a couple of those, then that way, if we could get a couple of those for the show, then that would be fantastic. But Sharif, we'll send it right back to you again in a second. But Swoldemort, Another $5 super chat.
Okay.
You'll always be the sharpest cookie in the drawer to me.
I don't know what the hell you were talking about there, bro.
My brother.
You're like
Me?
Yeah, you were talking about yourself. Like, I'm not the sharpest cookie.
I'm not but I'm not, dude. You're a smart dude.
I want to interrupt you, but I'm like, maybe this doesn't look good if I interrupt you.
No, not at all. But I'm just being like, there's significantly higher intelligence than me. So I'm like,
different kinds of intelligence as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, solid point. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I love. And then Lovely Smoke too was showing some love as well too, guys. So I appreciate that. Smoky Love, sorry. So appreciate that. Thanks for guys for showing the love. Goes a long way. Those kind words go a lot farther than you think.
Absolutely. Joseph, shout out to the chat. The undefeated chat. All right, guys, SES. Got a couple of grade outs on this one, but it is now back at that dollar area, and this is make or break time. I've given it a bit of a buffer between that buck and my out in case, you know, we get a quick wick, a penny or two. So it's going to have to hold this general area. We're not going to be DC.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I got it. Thomas Johnson says, Swoldemort versus Harry Spotter. That was a good one. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, we gotta stop for those.
Darth Buddha, bro, what are you talking about? She was like, no one makes jokes about Joe but me. He was making fun of himself, man. I wasn't gonna let that happen.
Yeah, come on, man. Harry Spotter.
Play it, man. What are you guys talking about?
Harry Spotter, man.
Shout out to Luis Suarez. He looks like he was biting himself into SENS over here. If anybody gets that joke, well, then you're likely a soccer fan. SENS, let's have a look. Great call out, Luis Suarez. Shout out to you, my man. This is a good look right now. SNES, and we are at local highs over here. Well, we're almost at local highs, 94 pennies, give or take. But what I like about this one is it's not giving up the ghost. Sure, it was a penny stock, 25 pennies back in early December, but you're not getting that V-shaped retracement where it has a good day, 2, maybe 3, and then that's the end of it, and it goes back into the area lows. SENS, Joseph, this one is heading up, and it's at the high of the day, 90 pennies. This could be a dollar trade if it weasels up a little bit more. Shout out to you, my man. This is a good look right now, and as I look at it, we're going to have to deal with January 10th's resistance level first before we look at the buck, and that takes us all the way to 94 pennies. That's 4 pennies from where we're trading at right now. Keep your eye on this one. It's up 25 and a fifth, give or take, on the day. SENS going on the side chart here in a hot second. Joe.
Yeah, good stuff there, Sharif. We keep forgetting, guys, in the chat, make sure when it comes 1 o'clock, we got to document the playmaker. So, guys, if you vote for it, so we need you to participate and remind us, because Sharif and I, we have too much fun on the show sometimes. It slips our minds. But this is extremely important.
I'm going to have to take it this time. I'm going to have to take it.
All right, you ready to take it?
The Katina man wants me to take
it. We're going to take it.
Yeah. So here's the deal.
All right, so let's deal. Tell me what you're punching in at. I'm going to go off of your entry.
I'm going right now.
Okay.
There it is.
All right, there it is. What do we got? Where
here? The hell is it?
593.40. 593.40. Bang. Sharif is in it. We got a target price of 595.
Yes.
595.40. Okay, and then a stop loss of 592.40. 592.40. There we go. And we were in at 111. That's add one more 1 in there, and that's a lucky number. So there we go, guys. What did I put in here for? Okay, I never put that. No, we're all right here. Everything's kosher. All right. So there we go. 16. And yeah, sorry to interrupt and continue.
Oh, you're good, bro. All right. So we're involved in the SPY, and this is it was the Katina man's idea. He's like, look, take a small share size, but put your money where your mouth is every day. It's nice to have that data. It's exciting, this, that, and the other. But hey, why don't you guys take a trade? We're risking a little here, and it'll be nice to see if this actually is profitable. Now, look, we got to be completely open with you guys. Joseph, you want to tell them what Jose said and what Jose did yesterday?
Whoa,
we should probably tell them about that.
Okay, so guys, we have a good buddy of ours in the algo room. So I was talking about Jose. The guy is, again, when we want to talk about intelligent individuals, that's one. Yes, exactly. So Jose, so I was telling you about the Playmaker poll, and he was giving me the eyes. He was looking at me. He was reading me, telling me all these things. And as I'm displaying and telling him about this poll and all this data collected, he's almost like channeling his inner Elon, like, okay, at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, all right, I like this. channeling his inner Elon. He's like, okay, well, I can write an algo for this in about 5 minutes. So sure enough, I go sit in the algo room with him. He types in all the code, everything, etc. And he's like, okay, we're gonna run about a 3-month sample set. Boom. So over 3 months, unfortunately, it was not a profitable strategy up until the latter half of those 3 months, which was really interesting. So I said, how much is that in correlation with the market? Because we were in a downtrend for a little while after the FOMC, and he's like, okay, let's run it again here. And we took it. He's like, yeah, this is where the most of the losses occurred. Sure enough, in our uptrend is when we started to become profitable again. But he wrote the code, he wrote the algo. Buy SPY at 1 o'clock, 1 lot. Sell it at 2 o'clock, 1 lot. No matter of it, other than if you hit your 2-to-1 price target. And sure enough, in a 3-month span, that strategy was not profitable for this time range. But that's just being frank, right?
Yeah.
We're just being frank. But it's just the ability. The dude's smart. He wrote that code in the span of 10 minutes while I'm eating my lunch. He's like, all right, buy here. Python, and here. And sure enough,
you can
he
do that
printed
too,
up
like
on GPT.
GPT, but I think Claude is a better programmer. There's so many that are good right now, and you could just basically give it instructions. And we on our platform with IB, we have API access.
Oh, do we? Okay, yeah, I didn't know.
We can definitely do that. I should probably try something like that. The human algo's got some for us. Derek, go.
But take a look here at crypto. Actually, remember I just showed this graphic here, our graphic showing that public companies which hold BTC, but then I actually reworked it because I realized there was a bit of a typo here, but I decided if I'm going to rework it, I may as well make it up to date. So here's our up-to-date graphic here of public companies holding Bitcoin. There's about just over 4,000 more Bitcoin publicly held than the last time we published this, which was on January 7th. 2025, MicroStrategy now has 450,000 Bitcoin, and actually a slightly larger percentage here, still about 75% of all of this publicly held Bitcoin, Bitcoin held by publicly traded companies. Marathon Platforms, or Marathon Digital still at number 2, Riot Platforms still at number 3. Neither of them have changed any of their holdings, but here's the big one. CleanSpark has actually usurped HUT 8 in its number of holdings. So the last time we did this, again, January 7th, HUT 8 had held more than CleanSpark. Now CleanSpark holds 1 more Bitcoin than HUT 8. So 10,097 versus HUT 8's 10,096. So CLSK bulking up on its Bitcoin holdings. The amount of other companies holding Bitcoin has also increased, but a lot of these other companies holding the same amount. So interesting stuff here. MSTR, CleanSpark, and some of these other companies increasing their BTC holdings. So I think that's pretty interesting here. I love analyzing all this type of stuff. So if you guys have any ideas for graphics, just tag me in the chat here at a Daryl LePage. But in the meantime, as we do more crypto talk, XRP has been on quite the run. So let's talk about it here. This anchored VWAP is the AVWAP from the election on November 6th, which you know really jacked up the prices of a lot of these crypto names. This is around 2.4 on the 15-minute chart. We're holding it quite nicely. And we look like we're trying to break out this high of 3.4 on the 15-minute chart. But what is driving up the price of XRP? I suspect it's a couple of different things here. We do have, of course, the incoming inauguration of President Donald Trump. We know that he has Paul Atkins coming in here for the SEC, which is viewed as a much more bullish choice for crypto than the outgoing SEC leader, Gary Gensler, who we've all heard quite a lot about. We know there was another positive catalyst this morning for XRP as well. Donald Trump reportedly, according to the New York Post, looking to add Solana and XRP to the crypto reserve should it take place as part of his, quote, America First strategy. So keep an eye there on XRP and Solana with that in mind. Also, apparently ChatGPT saying that XRP could have a price run from $10 to $50 if it gets a spot ETF approved. So, I mean, that's just ChatGPT. Take that how you will. But apparently AI now weighing in on XRP's bullish potential. So keep an eye on this one, guys. We'll take a look at Solana as well because it did have a similar catalyst there. Solana actually having quite the more intense spike up here. So SOL looking pretty good as well here, guys. Back to you. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Yes. Okay, yeah. We're looking like we might get stopped out here on the SPY, Sharif. What do we? We only got about 50 cents here. Heading in on some key support levels. Oh, and there it goes. Yeah, breaks it to the downside. Yeah, the tech.
We already stopped out.
Yeah. We're getting there.
How come I'm not stopped out?
We're not. No, not yet. Close. We're about like 40 cents away. Something along those lines.
Wow.
Yeah, 40 cents away. Breaking through some key support levels here is the spider. A little bit of a tough look on that one. As soon as we punch in, sure enough, it starts to dump. SPY dumping because of NVIDIA dump. Yeah, I mean, it's dragging NVDA continuing to rain on the parade. Again, but when it's hot, it drags the market up with it, but when it's not, it brings it down. So here we are, slightly surviving. Hopefully this is just a liquidity grab, Sharif, but we might be in some trouble here, my guy. If we take a look at some of the intraday technicals that we have going on here, let's see what and we're forming some lower highs, which can be quite alarming, not the best signal. But what we do have here, folks, is some key support. So, excuse me, choked on my own words there. But if we hold these levels fairly well, putting in that price compression pattern here, and let's see which way we decide to break lower, because, I mean, it could be lower, it could be higher. You're going to want to see that volume step in. It did look like we were going to break to the top side, but as of right now, hovering around those key support levels, not looking too pretty.
Are we allowed to DCA into the SPY?
Are we allowed to? Yeah.
No, we're not allowed. We gotta play by the rules.
You gotta play by the rules, man. Exactly. We can't.
I don't know why I'm making up the rules. This is your gig here, bro.
No, hey, man, it is what it is. We'll take it for the fun that.
So in case you're wondering why I'm long the SPY, guys, I don't think I don't know. I don't remember, but I don't think I've ever traded the SPY on the show. We're doing a new thing where we basically get it, Atera. Well, we're basically doing a new thing where I'm gonna enter into the trade. I think we should take turns. One day me, one day you. Enter into the trade to kind of put the money off the playmaker pool so that we got some skin in the game, so to speak, with that whole thing. All right, I'm in a new trade, SENS. And I like this because, well, it came into the 10 exponential. Let's see if it holds up here. It's been quite respectful of that level. It's 90 penny high a day. We'll see if it can make its way up into a buck. That would be interesting if we could work our way into that dollar right now. SES. So I'm trading two similarly named stocks, SES and SENS. SENS is sub $1. SES is right at that buck. It did dip below the buck super quick into 98 pennies. I'm assuming if we hold up here, that was a specialist breakdown to trigger everybody's orders, or stop loss orders, that is, who was, placed a couple of pennies below that dollar. We'll see if that's the case. It's back above a buck, but, not really a glowing endorsement for the move up right now. Now, here's the deal. Should I be adding at the dollar and then, basically putting my stop below 98 pennies? If I feel that this kind of doji candle right now was a specialist breakdown to stop everybody out, do I add at the dollar and get a bigger position for a possible move back up? I'm just thinking out loud. So, I don't know. Up 21.25. Let's see. We're well above VWAP. We're below the 10, but we're above the 20. I'm talking about SES. Let's see, and it was a nice hold up there. That's exactly what I'm going to do, man. How many shares do I have of this thing? Anyway, So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can pick it up at the dollar. Right now, it's showing me 101. If I don't pick up at dollar, fine. We'll look to pick it up at 101. That's what I'm looking at right now. So it's getting away from me. Now it's at 102, so I should have punched in at 101. Whatever. We'll keep an eye on it, see if we can work into it. Maybe at a different price. So SENS still holding up at around 88 pennies or 89 pennies. No, 88. I'm in at 89. It's at 88 and change right now. Let's see what everybody's talking about in the chat. These moves are crappy today, says Lemonade Galaxy. Yeah, you're not wrong. Absolutely. We're gonna go to Adara, and then we'll look at the chat.
It is worth noting here, guys. Here we do have a post from Ming-Chi Kuo on X, that is the noted Apple supply chain analyst. This is not a super directionally clear post. We know sometimes he can move the market, but I just want to let you guys know that this post has come through, just in case there's any moves on this. This is basically just kind of a summary of some of his past predictions for TSM and NVIDIA compared to the TSM earnings report. So basically, he said that TSM earnings report, quote, supports the positive AI trend, but he said there is still some concern here about the shipment of NVIDIA's GB200. It's worth noting, actually, we did have some comments on that from the TSM CEO saying that he's still seeing some, supply and demand for that. So he's saying that the NVIDIA trend is still positive. But I guess Ming-Chi Kuo is saying that the fact that we don't have a ton of visibility on these GB200 shipments could be a concern. So keep an eye on NVIDIA and TSM with our new post from one of the most market-moving analysts here on X, Ming-Chi Kuo. Back to you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, it's interesting that he mentioned specifically the GB200 because the GB200 is the one where he places two Blackwell chips together. There's two dual chips. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with the architecture of trying to piece them together while we're not seeing, because what I heard before was we were on schedule for production of the actual B200 itself.
Okay.
Again, the GB is when they place the dual to get. We'll have to wait and see. Ming Chi Kuo's been accurate in the past. He's been incorrect at times as well. So it's a bit of a, a hit and miss when it comes to his reporting. But yeah, always want to take what he has to say into consideration.
Isn't he always bearish on Apple or something along those lines? No?
I don't know. Lately he has been, but I don't think he always is. Yeah. Yeah, his sources come from, I guess, suppliers out in Asia, Taiwan Semi, maybe some of the people Taiwan Semi and some others that use some of his sources. So interesting look. Yeah, I always want to hear what everybody has to say, and then you can kind of make your own decisions as time goes on. All right, let's see what everybody's chiming in about there in the chat. So TSM CEO says things are ramping up, and this loser says the opposite, and the markets follow the loser who's speculating. Got it, said Shadwick. I don't know if I call him a loser, bro. I mean, he's clearly not a loser. He's got quite a following, but your point well taken, but that's the whole point of, having insiders. The company is less inclined to want to tell you everything that's going on to protect themselves from competitors, obviously, whereas he may not be motivated like that. Jacoby Waters, no lie. I haven't taken a trade in more than an hour and not sure if I want to take any more today. LOL, I'm green and looking to stay clean. My man, I like
exactly.
that.
We like that.
We're going to drop the money for Jacoby Waters. Shout out to him. What else we got? K. Hoddle, I like that name. BBAI, and he's going like this with the Italian hand thing. All right, let's have a look at BBAI. Let's load it up over here. See what the situation is on Big Bear. Okay, it's trading near the highs. That's exactly what it's doing. Up 21 1/3% on the day. Here's the 5-minute. Yeah, 414 HOD. It's hanging out above 4. Good look, man. This is a good look with that 4 area kind of being the pre-market high. It was the pre-market high. And then we take out that 4 area, looking like very respectful as well of the 10 exponential moving average on the 5. So yeah, Big Bear AI, perhaps I should be putting that on the side chart over here. And removing some of the others. You all right there, Joseph?
Yeah.
All right.
Those IKEA desktops got to me, man.
Yeah, you were telling me your dalliance yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to Johnny Quasar. Is that Quasar like the space Quasar thing when the star explodes? Tag me in the chat. I want to know if that's what your name means there. Trade good companies, and you guys don't really got to worry about what happened to PHIO. You're absolutely right, my man, but there is a way to trade these small cap gappers and stay safe at the same time. I wouldn't have such a blanket statement, though, but you're absolutely right. These ones are not for everybody, and again, I always want to stress they're around for a good time, not a long time. So let's keep an eye out on what we got. We got the SPY trade still doing its thing over here. No out on that. FSI. We're good on that. We didn't get the fill, sadly, on SES, and now it's defending that dollar and moving back up again into that 104. So yeah, a little lamenting not having added there the buck. SENS back into that 88 penny area. We'll keep an eye out on that. Jimmy Donnelly should reach a new all-time high. XRP pickup on buy volume. Shout out to you. Good luck there. A lot of people riding that XRP bandwagon. Rivian Millionaire chiming in as well. Tyler Cox saying Rumble. Let's have a look at RUM. Good look. I'm going to have to throw Big Bear AI in the side chart here, but RUM looking good. Let's have a look. Rumble as well. Adair brought this one to us earlier. Now it's knocking the door of $12.30. $12.30 with that 12.28 HOD, Adair.
Even more news here, guys. Lots of news stories today. We do have AMZN and watch. This one's actually breaking new day's lows. We have Business Insider reporting that the company is cutting 200 jobs in their fashion and fitness group. This is also actually of note because a little bit tangentially here, we did have Stitch Fix running this, I think, a couple days ago or late last week when there were some reports that Amazon would be basically cutting back some of its, other fashion-related businesses. So AMZ and the fashion side of things apparently not too good here. Dropping, guys. Back to you.
Thank you, Dara, much appreciated. Let's take a look at SoFi. Pathic asked us to kindly in the chat, so sure enough, we will. Market is slowly starting to come down. Apple at lows a day. So, man, am I ever glad that I cut that position. As soon as I opened my eyes, I opened it up. I'm like, all right, let's see what we got here. And I seen a gap up, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. So, yeah, cut that swing position on Apple. Looking really, really nice. But here we are, SoFi, putting in a new high a day or hovering around those ends. So here it is. Nice look there, Pathic. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Let's zoom out again. But look, oops. No, why do you got to do that to me? All right. Sorry, Pathic. We're going to skip that for now. Let me pull it up. I'll pull it up one more time just for you because your contributions within the chat are meaningful. Here is SoFi from a daily perspective. Multiple gap ups here, guys, continuing in that strength. Only a couple percentage points off of that all-time highs. And here it is, about 5% or so now, 5.5%. Is SoFi off of those all-time highs, gap up after gap up after gap up. So nice look there. Look for the continuation in strength. And sure enough, you found it there, my guy. So good luck there. Pathic is a telepathic. Oh, okay. All right. There. Sorry. Oh, Pathic. Okay. As in telepathic. Okay. Cool. Pathic. All right. Make it. That's a lot simplistic. As long as that other individual's name, we just call him John. So yeah, that's much easier. Yeah, selling in a green pre-market has been good this past year. Yeah, I mean, when I see those types of gap ups in the morning and you run into key pivot levels, because I mentioned before with you guys that I check my Camarilla pivots all the time, and when I see something running into R4 and gapping up in the session and runs into R4, that's a good signal that, hey, we might sell on the session. So got out of that. Happy about that trade. That is for sure. But let's take a look at Apple, considering we're talking about, as Sharif likes to refer, the dead one. And here we are, man, going to break those lows. And I mentioned this earlier in the session that if we break 299.89, that we'll call it 230 level, that there could potentially be some more downside. And here we are, slowly crawling, engulfing the previous 3 sessions here is Apple and continuing to drag the market down. Wow, look at that dump on the SPY there. So yeah, guys, we got
stopped out.
Yeah. Oh, you look at the dump on it, man. We got stopped out there. Momentum leading to the downside. Yeah, and I'm curious, was there news on Apple this morning, or
they are now 3rd in China.
Oh, in sales, in phone sales.
Yeah.
Oh.
Huawei number 2, and I keep forgetting the first one. Vivo
is it
pretty sure.
Chinese-based.
Yeah, they're both Chinese brands.
Okay, yeah. So Huawei, and so there it is, guys. So there goes Tim Cook and company. Time to get innovative and come out with something groundbreaking and game-changing.
Here's the deal, though. I mean, these Chinese companies took everybody by surprise when they were able to duplicate some of the 5G chips that were banned. For sale in China. So when Huawei came out with the Mate Pro 50, I believe it was early last year, people were kind of shocked. And then the initial reaction was, I think they can make a few of them, but they can't make it at scale. They're using old lithography machines by ASML to kind of weasel their way in, but they wouldn't be able to do it on scale. And I don't think that that's proved right, bro, because quite frankly, I think they are making it at scale. So we're going to have to really relook at China, whether or not there is an actual 5D, for the phones, that is, 5G chip ban. And by the way, it's kind of funny because China, that is involved heavily in the 5G layout of towers, et cetera. Like, and we saw North America and Europe kind of ban them a little bit because they were worried about security, yet they can't get their hands on the chips for the modems for 5G. Ooh, okay. So isn't that funny? It's like they can build the infrastructure, but
they can't. And I found that interesting too. And I just want to add on to that point because I mentioned to you not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, about how they had the 800 NVIDIA chips. And they still created something that's equal to GPT with not the same computing power, essentially. So I forget what it's called, whatever that AI is called. But yeah, I mean, not having the same power, but being able to create something identical and for significantly less money. So there you go.
Here's the deal, though. That one thought LLM, thought it was ChatGPT.
It claims to be ChatGPT.
So then people started coming out. They're like, I think the new LLMs are going to start protecting their way somehow, where you're not going to be able to access all their training methodologies and everything. So we'll have to wait.
So they trained it to act as if it's ChatGPT.
Yeah, because it basically copied everything.
I forget the name.
If you asked it, like, what's your name? It thought it was ChatGPT.
Yeah,
that's how much.
I forget what. I'm going to find the.
People are yelling about Rigetti. So something's going on with RGTI here. Let's have a look. RGTI. Let's bring this bad boy up.
Stop that, man.
It's breaking into the highs, guys. It's still below that pre-market high, or is it? That 4 a.m. pop, 1180. We are 1174. Good move up. Rigetti was really interesting when we were covering it this morning on the desk. It went green to red. It was kind of counter to some of the other names that were moving up, the quantum names that were moving up, QBTS, QUBT, and some others, and Rigetti was negative. Now Rigetti back into positive territory over here, almost at 7% and trading well close to the highs. So good look here for Rigetti. Might be an interesting one to trade, especially if it can take out that 1180 HOD. Since we're done with PHIO, let's load up Rigetti and keep an eye out on this one. I could definitely be persuaded to get into this one if it does get parabolic above that 1180 4 a.m. high. Joseph, what do you got?
Hey, good luck, stuff. I'm just documenting something here, guys.
Yeah, I can take over.
Yeah. No, I was just putting in the playmaker poll because we got stopped out. So let's see how this fluctuates the equity curve that we got going on here. So what is our stop loss? 592.40, 592.40. There it is. It's documented. We went long. Surprisingly, we got stopped out at 125. Here it is. It's a loss of negative $100. I don't know why I put 85. We will fix that later. Shares 100. And then here we go. This is the cumulative here, guys. Oh, 100, negative 100, sorry. And this is just how I fill it out. And this is how it'll calculate everything. So 469, boom. And once we tap that in, sure enough, it adjusted here in the playmaker poll, cumulative profit and loss equity curve there, guys. So there it is. We were on a buzz there, and then sure enough, a nice pullback, totally justifiable here if you want to look at it like an equity standpoint. Beautiful run, and then now a little bit of a pullback. So there it is, the playmaker poll documenting the 26th trade of all time. So fun stuff.
Yeah, got shellacked on that.
Did you? Yeah.
It is what it is, man.
Yeah, it is.
We're gonna do it.
Well, I'll take it tomorrow, and we'll see how.
Yeah,
we'll see
whatever.
how
It's going to be an even distribution.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. KPLT. I see you guys yelling about this. Here it is. Let's load this bad boy up. I've now put Rigetti on the side chart, but we haven't broken through that 1180. Right now, that's going to be my line in the sand before I start looking at Rigetti as a long. It's got to take out that 4 a.m. high. But KPLT, certainly on one right now. The only drawback about KPLT right now is volume. It's an $11 name, 1130, and it hasn't even done a million shares, about 764,000 shares. It was moving up before the volume started coming in here at 120. So the volume really started kicking into high gear. I want to say at that 120 time slot where we got about 210,000 shares in about 5 minutes. Kind of the same look over here on this candle at 130, about 210,000 shares. But as I watch it trade, it's very spready. It's like 25 penny spread. Get it, Adara. Below that 1186 HOD. It's moving quite aggressive. KPLT showing up on my scanner. It's up 59.5%, but definitely not fitting the small cap gapper mold here, which is tight spreads. And yeah, so I'll keep this one on the side chart, but unlikely to want to trade this, Joseph, just because it doesn't fit that mold. You got to pay some bills.
You got to pay some bills, guys. It's that time. eSignal. Trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to an elite trading experience. Analyze, strategize, capitalize. Receive profitable opportunities with the platform you need. Infinite data, instant trading, know where the market is moving before others with lightning fast data. Charts that change the game, customize and analyze markets faster your way. Better backtesting and scanning, predict the future by understanding the past. Reliable real-time data up to the second market info from hundreds of global markets. Everything you need all in one place. Don't miss a beat, execute your best trades now. Ready to elevate your trading? Scan the QR code or check the link in the description, folks. There it is right there. Scan it, click the link, and sure enough, it'll pop up for you right there. Trade smarter, not harder.
The Perma Bear is back. Shout out to Big Spile Burdette making me chuckle with some comments over here. China, very good country, very good leader, very good food. Hates saying Lululemon. Can you believe that China's sales for Lululemon are quite strong? Despite the fact that we've heard about the consumer in China not really wanting to spend on a bunch of things, real estate being one of them, but athleisure wear.
Athleisure wear.
They're very interested in. Adara, what's up?
We're going to take a look here at the US dollar here for our Money Talk segment, which is just honestly in a nice little uptrend here. We know we have, despite the fact, that we have had 4 straight days of downside, likely influenced by these well-received economic numbers. Today was a bit more muted. We did have some numbers in the retail sales space and also here for jobless claims. But of course, the PPI on Tuesday and then the CPI, especially on Wednesday, were the two biggest things that pushed the market to the upside, at least initially, and would then push the dollar to the downside consequently. So interesting stuff there for that US dollar. Of course, we now only have a couple weeks until the FOMC meeting there January 29th. We are still expecting no rate change, so we'll have to see if that actually comes to fruition. But the other thing I want to talk about is the relationship of the Canadian dollar to the US dollar, because we are in quite the downtrend here. I would even argue a bit of a bear flag, starting with this drop on Friday, December 6th. Slightly higher lows here for the CAD, but generally a push to the downside. I wanted to bring this up too because, as Sharif was mentioning earlier, we do have a lot of tension between some of these Canadian leaders and these US leaders, even some within Canada, about how Canada will be reacting to these US tariffs. So keep that in mind, guys. CAD could be one to watch in the next couple of weeks. Make sure to like, subscribe, and participate in the poll. Back to you.
Sounds good.
I wanted to ask you a couple of things about China. I know you're a smart guy. So we all know how they lifted, I forget, whatever, a while ago, a bunch of people out of poverty, etc.
Built the middle class.
And then they built like a lot of, they were kind of, it's like false, I guess. But what was up with all these ghost cities that they built in China?
They overbuilt. Anticipating continued economic growth, like in near double digits, and it didn't happen after COVID. Couldn't recover.
So why wouldn't it be, I guess, something along the ends is like, you know what it's like to do buy an assignment. You need people to come in, buy the property, the proposed property.
It's a little different out there.
I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, but I see your point.
You know what I mean? So it's like now you won't have all these ghost cities. Like you're just building something, expecting and anticipating that people were going to start funneling into these areas.
There's two. I forget the name, Evergrande and then Garden City or something. There's two main property developers in China. One, the Chinese government was kind of like, yes, you're doing business the right way. You're not over leveraging. The other one, I think it was Evergrande. It pissed off the Chinese government. They weren't happy with how they were over leveraging. They were heavily in debt. And so they kind of, they didn't really help them out as much as they could have in any event. But I think that, just looking at the statements that are coming out of China versus what's being done, it's really interesting. Like, we keep getting all these news reports that they're going to stimulate the economy, that the People's Bank of China is going to come in with monetary stimulus, that the government, the Beijing government is going to come in with fiscal stimulus. But every time they do, it seems to be underwhelming to the markets, right? It's like the reports that I read is like not enough stimulus has come in. But despite the fact that you get all these pronouncements from the government. So I don't know why they've got one foot in and one foot out. I'm not sure what the whole situation is there, but that's why I've stayed away from these Chinese stocks.
Well, I know it was Brendo's top worst performing sector as well too.
Evergreen,
I said the same thing. Like, this thing is uninvestable. So considering we're talking about it, let's pull up one of the largest companies there, and that's Baba. All right. So let's pull up Alibaba Group and just take a look at it from a technical standpoint. And Sharif, we can see when the Chinese government announced stimulus here, but then sure enough, the street was like, this might not be enough. And then they introduced some more or something along those lines, okay? But then again, once again, not enough. So that's why I just think this space is just totally uninvestable. And from a past standpoint, as you guys like to say, I don't like to use the term, it's a repeat offender here. And sure enough, like, this is not something that you want to invest in the long term. So stay away from that.
David Jiang. More building equals more borrowing equals higher cash flow. This mode was successful at first as there were condo buyers to eventually fill the hole of the big debt. Now it just doesn't work. Fantastic summary there. I mean, I'm sure it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but yeah, I get your point completely. But as much as we talk about the ghost cities, as much as you need to see some of these cities, bro.
Yeah, you need to.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I know.
Chongqing, bro. It's like the city where you don't know what level you're on.
Yeah,
you think you're on level 15,
and there's trains going through the buildings and everything.
And obviously, Shanghai goes without saying, beautiful city.
Well, we need that stuff. Get those engineers over here because the traffic is crazy. We get some stuff rolling through some of these corporate buildings.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've built something impressive over there. Whether or not they can sustain it, an entirely different story. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's like there's different, it's like cities within cities and like multiple levels, trains going through buildings and everything like that. Yeah, it's cool stuff.
That's a look there, guys. What else we got over here? Anybody chiming in about what we're talking about over here? Nope. Jack, 15 Hong Kong dollars.
There you go.
How about serve?
There you go. Speaking of there, he's chiming in.
Let's have a look at SERV, one that we've been very familiar with lately. It's okay. Well, it's down on the day, my man, and quite frankly, I have no interest in trading something like this because, well, it's very consolidative. It's also trading below VWAP. It's also negative on the day. It looks like it went green to red there. Started out the pre-market, looking to take out that 20 bucks, and then red came in. Does it have a headline? Maybe I can help you out with the headline. No headline today for SERV. I'm looking for on previous days. See what the situation is. No. Nothing there. So the closing print, 1850. That's exactly where VWAP is. If it retraces into 1850, I'd probably be looking short because it went red to green. I don't have anything for you on this, sadly. It hasn't been doing enough to do anything on it. So keep an eye on that. Big Kyle Burdett, he had a bunch of long side trades. And Joker. All right, Glenn Smith, most of what was built was low quality. Okay, I don't know. Tell me how you know that. Because certainly their EVs are not low quality. It's the American brands that are low quality now. Kahlua was up on the day, down on the day, and back up heavy on the day. I shorted when you guys went long on SPY.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we didn't go long on SPY. The chat said to go long on SPY vis-a-vis the Playmaker poll. We're going to be taking that now. I hope you kind of know that exactly what we're doing there. It wasn't a trade that I liked, but one that we're going to execute to kind of just make things a bit more interesting, right? We'll take small size, and we'll keep it that way. Let's see what else people are talking about. No, serious. Burry had a bunch of long side positions he put on the side before China stimmy. I know. And so was David Tepper. When China came in and said in the summer, I think it was August, I'm not sure, something around then, late August, early September, China said that they were going to stimulate. David Tepper went on CNBC and said, buy everything. I don't know how that's worked. I haven't looked to see what his DC or his price are for anything like that. But it's been a bit of a tougher trade, in my estimation. Jerry Garcia, the cars the Chinese export to Ecuador look good but fall apart fast. Interesting. I'm assuming you're talking about ICE cars, right? Because we're talking about EVs here. But yeah, your point's well taken. I think you get different standards of quality from China. You can get the very, very bottom and you can get really good. I think it really depends on the manufacturer you go to. And here's a little tidbit for anybody who wants to become an importer, exporter. The factory residents, or what they call the dormitories, are very indicative of the health of the factory. So what happens in China is these guys want to save, so they move into dormitories where I think they have subsidized housing or it's free, as well as food as well. And then you go and you tour the factory before you buy, and you can look at how the dormitories are set up. If they're 2 to a room, 3 to a room, 4 to a room, they may not be as good. But if you've got 1 to a room, max 2 to a room, then you can kind of gauge the health of the factory based on its dormitories. So yeah, your point well taken there. Glenn Smith chiming in as to what I was saying. I was referring to the ghost cities. Lots of YouTube videos document them. You're absolutely accurate, my friend. Not challenging you on that point at all. Alan Newton Jr., Inverse Sharif, yes. Take it, let me know how it goes. What else we got from the chat over here? Let's see what...
Say the Inverse Sharif
yeah.
ETF?
I mean, I punched in at the SPY.
That's cool, man. Get out of here with that. The inverse.
There's a real reason Chinese citizens prefer to buy Teslas at double to triple the average EV price. Brother, this is not me talking about the quality of Chinese EVs. This is actually industry experts. When you have the CEO of Ford driving around in a Xiaomi whatever SU70, not driving one of his own cars because he doesn't know how to put them together than the Chinese, that speaks more volumes than, you know, little reports here and there. So that's just my opinion on things. And again, I think China is one of those countries where you can get the very bottom and you can get the very top. Sophie, why? Chinese EVs are really popular and cheap all over the streets. All buses are electrical. Yeah, they've really invested heavily in, hey, there he is. I was like, what's going on my right shoulder? They've really invested heavily in the EV build-out and batteries and stuff like that in the way the Americans have. You want to get the mic?
We need to hear Randy's take.
Hear what?
We need to hear your take on the EV game.
On the EV game. It's cold out.
Yeah,
It's snowing like crazy.
It's snowing too, yeah.
It's just not going to be fun to do.
See some of the temperatures we're getting next week? Double digits.
Sunday, it was showing high of minus 16, which is
going to be brutal.
What is that in Fahrenheit? I don't know. It's just cold. It's just burr. Yeah.
What do you think about the quality of Chinese EVs? Good, bad, or maybe?
I think they're great. I honestly, come on. Like, if you look, okay, let me back up.
Yep.
They've taken their time in the last, I'd say, 5 to 7 years to look at what Tesla's done, to look at what some of the other major manufacturers have done, and now they're building great products. And you can't dispute this. And if you look at the NIOs and all the XPengs and all, and I saw some of at the auto shows, and everybody look at the reviews on Car and Driver. We don't get a lot of them here.
We're
at some point. No. At some,
100%
I think at some point we're going to see them hit our shores in one way or another.
I'd like to have the option.
So would I. There's some great products out there.
The government's not happy about bringing them in, obviously, because they're saying they're subsidized, which I disagree with. But the other one is because they're worried that there could be some backdoor hack that you could access the cars and all of a sudden the cars are shut off. By that narrative.
The whole hack thing I'm not on board with, but no, they're protecting our native auto industry, our domestic industries, which is Ford, GM, Stellantis, Rivian, and Lucid, and the Lucid Gravity, by the way, 828 horsepower. Like, come on.
Ridiculous.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Anyway, so if these Chinese companies come in and make a Gravity copy and sell it to you and me for 50 grand,
yeah,
and the quality is there, and it's a deliver to your door model, just like Tesla. There's no dealerships. Their barrier to entry is lower.
Very.
And if you want to build brand value, product and brand loyalty on top of that value, let them do it. And you prove that with quality vehicles, quality parts, quality service. If you build a quality product, don't forget your Apple iPhone is made in China. So give them time. They'll find their way around the tariffs. It's going to be a fun game.
Here's the deal. We saw, Doug Dumoro, the guy that reviews cars.
Yes.
This is, he spoke very well about these Chinese EVs that they gave him to review. Marquise Brownlee spoke very well about the Chinese EVs that he was given to review. So unless you're of the opinion these guys are getting paid off for whatever reason, the American companies couldn't pay them off because they speak badly about some of these American EVs, but the Chinese were able to pay them off. If that's your thesis, then fine. I don't happen to subscribe to that. I think that they actually got it right. They invested in it before the Americans got invested in it, and now the Americans and Canadians, to be fair, are having to scramble. And here's the deal. You know dang well, Randy, that we're subsidizing that EV industry in this country. The federal government, the provincial government are all putting public money to build out these battery plants. Volkswagen, Toyota, all these bad boys have publicly funded battery plants.
Like stereo, surround sound.
There's the superstar right there.
I got surround sound.
Yeah, there you go.
Am I on?
You're on. You're live.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Subsidies. Yes, governments at state, provincial, federal levels. Trying to grow the industry. It's also the raw materials. We have a lot of raw materials.
Absolutely.
And all the other precious metals required to build not just electric cars.
No.
Okay, we're talking battery systems for solar, for off-grid applications, and for powering homes and the like. It's protectionism. Of course it is.
100%.
At the same time, our supply chain costs are much higher.
Way higher.
Way higher.
Yeah. Environmental costs,
labor costs, taxation, the whole work. So it's not just the actual cost of the raw materials.
No.
And, you know, you can protect that all you want, but at some point we are in a global market. We have to compete.
I agree 100% with that.
So just because we created the chicken doesn't mean we're going to have all the eggs, okay? Like Tesla can invent and monetize and globalize the EV platform, and that was 10 years ago. Everybody else is catching up. At some point, you've got to tackle this cost. I don't see Ford, GM, and Stellantis getting this right anytime soon. I just don't.
Too much of a headwind.
So there's a lot of issues there.
much.
But in order to...
Legacy's plagued by...
It is, and there's
problems.
big automakers like Nissan, like Volkswagen that are struggling, that have put acres and acres of capital into their EV plans, and it ain't easy. It's not an easy go.
Absolutely not.
You're not going to hit a hole in one every time. So that being said, the Chinese have great supply chains. They control their supply chains. They have great costs, great labor costs. I think it's going to happen. And you know what? If maybe they can teach us a thing or two. Maybe they already have.
Well, you got to assume a lot of these the American manufacturers are dismantling, trying to reverse engineer some of the products,
which is fine.
Jim, what's his name? Jim Farley, right?
Yep.
He's driving it around in a Xiaomi, man, and he's not hiding that. He's openly saying that.
So the transparency here is okay. We can build it, but at what cost? And can we build it properly?
Very well said.
And can we deliver a product that people trust, that we can rely on? That's a reliable, durable product. That's the game. And you know what? If somebody came to the store with one of those cars and I trusted this platform and I loved the car, I'll buy it. I'm not hiding that fact. You can't. We all have a brand loyalty. We all love the cars we drive now and the brands we trust.
Yes, sir.
They had to build that to get there. You got to start somewhere.
I got nothing to argue about there, man. I got nothing to argue about there. Drew Farrell, this guy has a app on his phone for sure.
Yeah, I see.
Anybody doesn't get that joke? That is like the app that everybody's downloading now that is like a TikTok substitute. That is jokes. Hey man, we can be objective about the quality of a competitor's product. You know, I don't consider them an enemy. They're certainly a competitor. But I get that it's a bit of a touchy subject with a lot of our American friends. I get that.
They're loving Randy's quote. The U.S. might have all the eggs, but don't have the chicken. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I see where you're getting at there. 2NY. 2NY. Let's
Red
do
note. Did I keep calling it Red Hat? Did I say Red Hat again?
Is that
it's Red Note. Yeah,
Red Note?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm losing it today, bro.
Red Hat. No,
Red Note. Red Note.
Red Note.
All right.
That's something I won't be downloading. Katina, man, you downloading Red Note?
He's not going to download it. He doesn't even have TikTok.
He's like, no. He's like, why are you even asking?
I don't know why there's so much TikTok hate.
Hey, man. You know what? I'm going to be frank here. I'm going to be totally frank here, Sharif.
Yes.
I don't have TikTok because the choreography and the dancing that they do on that I don't like it. It's horrendous. It's horrible choreography, and that's it. That's why I don't have it.
TikTok?
Yeah. You know how they always do the TikTok dances?
Bro,
it's
nobody
horrible.
watches. Nobody goes on TikTok for the dances, my
That's
guy.
how it started, though. That's
right,
how
here
it
we
all
go.
started,
Let's
though,
load this
man.
up, Joseph.
That's how it
Let's
all
load
started.
this
Was the
up.
dances? The dances are horrible. I don't want to see
It's
them.
not for the dances,
Yeah, it's
bro.
for the
You're killing
dances.
me.
That's where it started, man.
No, man, it's actually excellent informational content. We'll get back. We'll talk more about this. Adair's at the big desk.
We do have some news here coming through. Rio Tinto dropping pretty aggressively here. BBG, so Bloomberg News basically reporting that it's in discussions with Glencore for a possible combination. So what a fall to the downside for RIO. Also here's CVX on watch as well. Seeing some reports here that apparently they filed Venezuela taxes despite the fact there were some sanctions. Not much of a reaction for CVX, but RIO pretty sharply to the downside. Like and subscribe and stay tuned for the afternoon show. Just a couple minutes away, guys. Back to you.
Random
You're getting support in the
Yeah,
chat.
exactly.
But
I go for the
But
dances.
you realize that the algorithm learns what you like, and it stops showing you dance videos if you keep skipping them.
I know, but that's how it blew up, no?
Yeah,
it was like,
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there you go. And that's
For
why I was
the
like, get
little
out
high
of here.
schoolers that wanna do
get
their
out of here. I don't
TikTok
want to
dance.
see the
Nobody
horrible
wants that.
clip.
See
Nobody
that.
wants that. Get out.
Yeah, but this is interesting over here. What do you say? Kalua, it's for dance videos, bro. That's why everyone's famous. It's for dancing in front of the camera and vlogging life.
Yeah,
I had to talk like that. That's not why I use it, my man. I use it for, it's like a good starting place to learn about a topic. Obviously, it's not exhaustive in the amount of information it gives you, but it's a good starting place, and you can kind of jump on from there. Yeah, Ram's defending me in the chat. Yes, Ram. Y'all just haters.
Okay, so are you doing the dances? Are you doing the dances, Ram? Is the real question.
I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I feel it. Are you doing the...
Oh,
what'd you say? I didn't hear what you said.
know if you have TikTok, but you don't, so you won't know. That's what she said.
Okay, all
Look
right.
at Neil. We all know why he uses it. All right, this goes back to like a 2-year ago thing. I love it. I love it when Neil chimes in about that. Shout out to Neil Roberts. I love when Ramin gets involved in the chat. Go, Ram, go, says Adara. Get it, Adara. Keep an eye out on that. It's just a matter of wanting the Chinese state to have all your information.
Yeah.
It's simple, says the Katina man. Not wrong, bro. Did you see the viral video that's going on? There's like a guy that made a video and he's like pretending to be the Chinese spy on the other side of TikTok. He's like, it's been real, guys. And he starts calling random people out from different states. He's like, Jennifer, you eat too much or you drink too much leche or whatever like that. So it was hilarious, guys. Got a couple of minutes left on the show. We did sadly get stopped out of the Playmaker poll. We're doing a nice little new invention here suggested by the Katina man where we're going to enter the Playmaker poll. One of us will enter it live for real money on the show, small size, of course, and then we'll end up seeing how it does. Today we did get stopped out pretty quick, Joseph. Usually we whiffle and waffle a little bit.
We're usually in the game. As soon as we punch it live, sure enough, it's like, no, not today.
Guys, I've been really loving the contribution from a bunch of different people, names that we don't typically see in the chat. We're going to try to, have a lot more of conversational take and engage, especially during the slower time of day. A little bit difficult for the big kahunas to do that during the open and the close as the market's more volatile and there are more trading opportunities. But we're always going to try to kind of have these controversial issues where, a couple of people can see it differently.
Yeah.
And get, a good chat engagement.
Bombastic side eye I just got there. Right.
Who, from Ram?
From me?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
No, obviously.
Shout out to DJ Marshall, $5 super chat for the OGs. TikTok was Musically. I remember that because my niece and nephew were all about that. Then all of a sudden it was different. Like one day, I do remember that, man. Shout out, guys. All right.
I did do a TikTok. I will confess. I did a TikTok once. I did dance. Yeah, I did it once.
Okay, so hold on.
This is years ago. No, this is years ago. This is years ago. Years and years ago.
We need the video.
No, I don't have it anymore.
Hold on, bro. I showed you in a good light. You knocked out a man, scored on the ice against a guy. Let's show him all the sides of Joey Options.
It wasn't even on my account, to be honest with you. It would be tough to dig it up. But maybe I'll take a look at it and we'll find it. But it was nothing. Yeah, the chat's loving it. They want to see it. For sure.
I want to see it too, bro. Hey, man, we got to show you in a good light.
Good light. Hey, there was some special beverages involved too. So that was how,
I don't know what that means.
But you know what I mean.
It's dynamic.
Some alcohol content.
And another piece of the puzzle falls into place.
There you go.
It is now 2 o'clock though, guys. All right, Joey Options and I will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. The big kahunas are over there. Are we though?
Oh,
there we go.
The delay, that was on purpose.
That was very delayed. You know what though? I want to see this video.
I'll pass. I think it'd be great. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it.
I wanted to see breakdance, the alleged breakdancing video of.
There's some breakdancing videos.
I showed it to you.
You did?
I'll show it again.
I don't.
My TikTok.